Hello, everybody. What is happening? Welcome back to Movie Buffed, the Beyond the Summit podcast here, taking place in the back warehouse with a couple of lonely, freaky-looking dudes. And we are going to be talking about some movies and just hanging out quite a bit. What's up? I am Dakota. Some of you dorks may know me as Coddle Guy. And joining me is none other than the illustrious Daniel Nigerian, also known as the content master here at Beyond the Summit. What's up, bruh?
Hey, dude. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good morning. It's Wednesday, my dude.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
The 8th. I almost said
The weather outside is fine. It's neat.
I almost said December. This year is getting away from us way too fast.
We've had a crazy week. I feel like this past week has been insane. We've had a little hiatus away from Movie Buffed, and but not really. I mean, like 1 week off, but we had a crazy week. We had a Smash Summit. That was super fun.
Smash Summit this past weekend.
You kind of got to chill. You had like one crazy day. So during our events, Dakota will be creative producer or kind of like helping whoever's a creative producer, but what he always does is direct all the photography for the events. So if you don't know, when we do our events, we have tons of photos, way more. So a normal event, you'll go in, you'll do your basic bitch poses, your arm crossed, your head lift, whatever.
And that is exactly what I tell the players too. When they come in for the photos, they just see like a giant layout of green or blue screen, the photographer, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Ready? I'm going to take your basic bitch esports baseball card shot, and then we're going to have some fun. So I get the basic photo out of the way, and then that's when we take over with where Smash Summit we had all those different anime intros. So we shot like...
We had 3 different intros. Normally we shoot 1 intro, and this time we had 3. And we basically leveraged how good we were getting at taking photographs and turned that into 3 different pieces. How many photos did you guys shoot? Do you know?
I don't know. Well, we shot all players. How many players were there? 16, 12, something like that?
16 players.
16 players, and then there were like 7 talent.
7 talent.
And then we did some extras. We had to like take pictures of some of our props and some of the extras we threw in the movies and stuff. So lots of pictures and stuff.
I think it was just over 50.
50?
I think it was just over 50, maybe. But actually, dude, it could have been more because the Evangelion scene had 94 shots in it, and you guys took probably 30 for that alone.
That one was the crazy one.
Yeah, that was stupid. That was one of those things that's like such a fun idea that you can't say no to it, but at the same time ended up being over 200 assets, 94 shots, and a minute and a half scene. I'm excited. We're going to get into that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's one of those bits that it's like when we get to go through it and when the players got to go through it, like bit by bit, you get to really kind of appreciate it a bit more, the work that was kind of thrown into it. It's quite ridiculous. So, like you said, though, that's going to be tomorrow. So tomorrow, guys, we are going to be doing our Hot Cocks show priority. And we have a lot to talk about on that show because the show priority episode we had before that, we were starting to talk about ESL, the first big Dota major. And then halfway through that episode, of course, 7.07 happened to drop. So we immediately changed gears and started to go in about the patch. So we have part 2 of the ESL major because, Dan, I collected all those clips, and we're not about to just throw that shit away for the patch.
I did that work, and we're not going to ditch it.
Yeah, I did all that work. So we're going to go back, and we're going to catch out the back half of ESL major where we get to see, like, the trophy ceremony and all the closing of the show and stuff. We're also going to touch a bit on some of the other big events that happened this weekend. BlizzCon happened. I don't have any particular clips, but I'm going to look around and see.
I have a couple of things.
There might have been some fun stuff at BlizzCon we're going to talk about.
They run a clean show. It's just more like looking at what Blizzard's doing.
Yeah.
And what Overwatch, like one of our next 2, we're waiting for Overwatch League, and you have the World Cup. So we got to see some stuff out of them, and I think that's kind of some stuff we'll be poking.
And we better be seeing like huge shows. That's like, I'm excited to talk like when Overwatch League comes out, just because it's like, all right, I'm seeing way too much money thrown around with this shit, so I better see a huge show.
And that's why tomorrow's going to be cool because it's the first time we're not just going to be talking about Dota on show priority. We're going to talk about Overwatch, Blizzard, so that means StarCraft. That means I think they had a WoW set up there. Also, Worlds. Worlds was last weekend, so we're going to touch on some of that crazy shit, that opening.
Yeah, I know a lot of our core audience here are diehard Dota fans, as we are, and we love the game to death. We are going to talk a little bit at League of Legends, but hey, League of Legends, they got this whole system in play.
You got to look at what they're doing.
I want to see what they're doing. Like, what do they have? that we don't.
Dude,
Or what are they doing so good? You know,
they're in the Bird's Nest Stadium. They got some AR that isn't just some plants on a stage underwater. It's some crazy shit. So we're gonna take a look at it, have some fun.
See what they do good. See what they don't do good.
Right? Yeah, we're gonna do what we always do. Dota Pit, Croatia.
We'll talk a little bit about
a little bit of that.
Just a little bit, Dan, because they only had a little bit for us to talk about. But
Yeah.
Good event, solid event, had a good time. And then, of course, we're going to finish out show priority by talking about Smash Summit. We'll go over the skits again, and you and Ken will be able to really dive deep about what it was like working with the Smash players, any fun extra Easter eggs, maybe some content that didn't air. It'll be some fun stuff.
I have some B-roll that was on the cutting room floor, a lot of behind-the-scenes footage from that day of shooting, and we're going to really deep dive and show you guys how intense we are and, like, what real no-lifers we are when it comes to this. Like, the pre-production on this Smash Summit was the most we've ever done, period. Our planning documentation was insane. And, of course, like, we do all that, and you still have 100 changes on day one because it's just that's the nature of the beast. But super excited, like I said, deep dive into that and really get in and talk about who's our favorite people to work with, why they're so good, where these ideas came from, how we handle it. And, I mean, even I think just showing the media day schedule will let people see how insane we actually are.
Yeah, and I don't think we're afraid to kind of show that stuff. So any content creators, creative people, and Smash fans, check out tomorrow for sure our show priority where we're going to be talking about all that stuff. But Dan, today's Wednesday, Hump Day, and Movie Day. For Movie Buffed, our fabled show where we like to talk about all sorts of fun, awesome show flicks. And we've been all over the spectrum with our movie choices, Dan. We've had some good old classics. We got to talk about The Wizard, Hackers, just good old nostalgia boner films.
Stuff that makes you feel like a kid again.
And then a couple of, occasional new films. And this is going to be our first time traveling into the Marvel universe. So it's going to be a good time. Now, before we really sink our teeth into Thor Ragnarok, which is today's episode, I do got to say our show, Movie Buffed, no sponsors yet, but I do want to say we do have an opportunity now for people to be able to support the podcast, support Beyond the Summit, and help out. And we have commissioned.
Why is that funny?
We have commissioned an artist, an awesome artist that Dan has found to draw up a piece of us and Movie Buffed, and we're going to be selling this art piece as well. So let's check it out. Dan, sell us on this piece of it. Look how sick this is.
Here it is, guys. This is the first piece of merchandise from any of the BTS podcast series. We're super excited about it. You can check out our store right now, Designed by Humans / Beyond the Summit, and it's available. You can buy the poster in a variety of sizes. So let me tell you a little about where this came from. So the artist...
Why am I going to want this weird poster on my wall?
What do you mean? Well, first off, if you don't know the artist, her name is Onips. An amazing artist. You can find her on Twitter. You can find her on Instagram. She has a personal series of hers called Off Cells, if you want to check out. She's got a Patreon you can support. She's incredible, does so much cool stuff. Me, Ken, Dakota, we've been following her work for a while, and we really wanted to do something that was fun for us and that we were working with somebody who we were really excited about working with. So when we approached her and talked about the concept, she was super into it. Very collaborative, awesome experience working with her and putting it together. Plus, we got to look like
anime characters,
like anime,
dude. All I've ever wanted was someone to draw me in a world like this.
Yeah, dude, it's super awesome. So here's the deal. If you like the BTS podcast, whether it's Hot Cocks, Show Priority, Movie Buffed, this is the first step that we're taking where you can directly show your support. We're trying to be super consistent with these. We're putting out about 5 hours of content every single week with the podcast series, and we love doing it. This is an awesome way to say, I like this. I want to see more of it. So check out our Twitter right now. Danica should be throwing out a tweet that will direct you right to the page where you can buy it on Designed by Humans. Otherwise, it's designedbyhumans.com/beyondsummit. You can check out our store. We got other stuff in there.
And other stuff's going to be coming too.
Yes.
I know we have a super awesome Hot Cock shirt.
Yes.
I don't care that I'm spoiling it. We have a cool Hot Cock shirt that's coming out.
Hot Cock shirt is coming.
The second it comes out, I'm wearing it like all the time. It's super cool.
It's amazing.
I thought I never would want to wear a shirt that says Hot Cocks on it. I'd be like, this is just trouble waiting to happen. But
that's why it's great.
This shirt's awesome.
It's that shirt you can wear around, and everybody's going to ask you, what is that shirt? Yeah. What does that mean? And for us with the poster, we want to do something different. We got a lot of shirts and stuff like that. This is the first poster we're actually selling, so I'm excited. We have one that we ordered. It's supposed to be coming here later today. Hopefully, we'll be able to tweet that out and show what it looks like in the actual final printed form.
Because it is slick. Again, shouts to Onips for doing that piece, and check it out in our Design by Human store.
Wow, dude, I like just looking at myself.
She captured your joy so well. It's ridiculous.
Dan Joy, sexy coddle, dude. What did I tell you? She said you reminded her of? You were oh shit. Why? Remember because we were talking about changing the face.
Well, first I remember one of the first concepts or one of our first editions. She had no facial hair, and it took me a while to even notice I had no facial hair at first.
I didn't notice either. Your wife was the first one to notice.
Yeah.
I didn't notice at all. No. What was your face? And then I can't remember what it is.
I could look at myself in that picture all day.
Okay, so
anyways, also sponsors out there. This whole huge plug could have been yours, by the way.
This could have been yours. We could have been talking about you instead of us.
Pennzoil, motor oil, whatever. We could have been going off about how.
Yeah, we could use a couple sponsors for the car.
Car troubles this morning. So it's been an interesting day. All right, Dan. I don't want to tease these people any longer.
No.
It's time to finally get into it. You are here to see Thor Ragnarok in Marvel glory. All you nerdy fans, we're going to break it down. We're going to get really serious. Our comic book glasses are on. Let's check out the Thor Ragnarok trailer.
By the way, before we check this out, can we talk about that? You want to wait? You want to wait? Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah, we'll check out the trailer first.
Whatever. Yeah, this morning was such an interesting ride going in. We get into this Uber, and the guy in the front seat is 10 feet tall.
No, he's 20 feet tall.
Okay, I get in. I go onto the side because I see his seat is all the way back. So I get in and scooch over to that side. And Dakota, instead of coming in the car right behind me, goes all the way around and then tries to get it on that. So now, if you don't know, I'm 5'1", 300 pounds. Dakota is 6'8".
300 pounds.
220.
No.
Pure muscle. So he gets in and he's sitting in the car like this. His legs are spread out like this. And instead of just swapping, he sits the entire car ride with his knees up to his chest.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you can be an Uber driver and be 20 feet tall and shove your chair back into the back seat against the wall or anything like that.
He did.
You're going to kill someone.
All right, let's check out this trailer.
Let's look at this trailer. Ragnarok.
So much has happened since I last saw you. I lost my hammer, yesterday, so that's still pretty fresh. And then I went on a journey of self-discovery, where I met you. Where are we? You have no idea. Hela, the goddess of death, has invaded Asgard.
Oh, I've missed this.
And you and I had a fight recently.
Did I win?
No, I won, easily.
Doesn't sound right.
Well, it's true.
Asgard is dead. And it'll be reborn in my image. I thought you'd be glad to see me.
We need to stop her here and now to prevent Ragnarok, the end of everything. So I'm putting together a team. Like the old days. Surprise! This will be such fun. Hello. Hi.
He's a fighter.
Here we go! I'm not a queen or a monster. I'm the goddess of death. What were you the god of again?
We're the same, you and I. Just a couple of hot-headed fools.
Yeah, same. Hulk like fire, Thor like water.
Well, kind of both like fire.
But Hulk like raging fire, Thor like smoldering fire.
Woo!
Thor Ragnarok. It is the third Thor film, the 17th Marvel film.
This is the 17th Marvel film?
17th, 17th Marvel film.
Starting from Iron Man?
I don't know where it starts
I
from.
think it starts in Iron Man.
And our first Marvel film that we'll be doing on Movie Buff.
I feel like
Dan,
it's very appropriate for us, too.
have you been a Marvel comic book fan,
Yeah.
superhero fan your whole life?
Absolutely. I don't think I was as hardcore as you, but growing up, I spent a ton of time. So my local comic book store was around the corner from me, called the Comics Gallery. Shout out, COMIX, Comics Gallery. If you're in Chicago, go check it out. You can take the purple line, drop off right there. Vern, guy that owns it, legend.
Vern?
Legend. Vern.
From like
Dude,
Ernest Goes to Jail, Vern?
yeah, dude.
Oh, cool.
He was the god, and he would I was just a little shithead, but he'd let me hang out in the store all day. I never had money to buy the comics until my parents would give me some money to buy the comics or whatever. But he would just let me read everything and hang out and do whatever. He was the coolest dude ever. And Marvel, I mean, to be honest, Dark Horse stuff and the independent stuff, because I'm hipster and everything, was the stuff that I read the most. But
you didn't have one particular hero, let's say, you followed, and you had the backpack, the lunchbox, the costume you wore at Halloween.
Well, I wanted to wear Gambit costume when I was in kindergarten, but my friend, or I thought he was my friend.
Oh shit!
He fucking dressed up as Gambit, and it was so cool. And he had the cut-off gloves and a leather jacket and cards, dude. His mom helped him with the costumes. I never wanted to dress up as a superhero ever again.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. But my heroes in Marvel were, funnily enough, Thor. I read a lot of Thor.
Yeah.
I read Deadpool. And that's pretty much it for the Marvel Universe for me. Those were the ones I really enjoyed. What about you? And X-Men. Obviously fucking X-Men the show.
Yeah.
The 90s
Cartoon.
animated series was the most legendary, iconic thing of all time. But I don't know.
I grew up with Marvel in my life. I think my brother was a little more into it than I was, but I still loved it a lot. What kid didn't like the whole superheroes, beating ass,
How much older
doing
is your brother
justice
than you?
in video games? My brother is 4 years old. No, 3 years, sorry. 3 years older than me.
Okay, yeah.
And so what we have here is our youth. Me and my brother collected the Marvel trading cards, from going to the baseball card shops, comic shops, and buying the packs, opening them over and over and over again. If I was lucky enough, like yourself, for your parents to hook you up with some money and then drop you off at the comic book store and the video rental store, so we would get a twofer. We'd be able to go get some comic book action, and then go over maybe rent a video game for Super Nintendo or something. And then
Video
take it back
Adventure was right next door to the Comics Gallery.
We had a Hollywood Video there, which was the rival to Blockbuster.
Yeah,
got up there a bit, but not quite.
Yeah, I remember that. We had one around us.
And
so look at these cards, dude.
So we collected these cards, and I could show them to the camera a bit closer in a moment here, but it was just crazy to be able to. I only recently got this back in my life.
First off, I don't know if you realize, guys, this is the most hyper-anally organized thing I've ever seen. This isn't just a bunch of cards thrown into it. It's organized by year, by team, by person, and then they're subcategorized within it. You are such a dork. It's really cool,
it's not
obviously,
complete.
to go through.
Unfortunately, this has gone through all of my siblings, and it wasn't until recently where I'm I want these cards back. Let me have them. I'm gonna treat them right, essentially. I want to take good care of them. So I got them back. I got some new card sleeves, and I reorganized them based on their checklist. Unfortunately, like I said, they're not fully complete, but we got a lot of cool stuff here. And it's funny, right on the first page, I shit you not, we got Thor.
Show him that card.
Thor versus Surtur. I'm gonna show the camera, Dan.
Okay, so as this is a giant spoiler of the movie, because this is pretty much the climax of the movie, the lower one. Go to the lower one. Yeah, there you go. Okay. There. Oh boy, a little back maybe. Jeez, this might not work. Whatever. So this is Thor. Great. Autofocus. There we go. Thor versus Surtur. This is the climax of Thor Ragnarok in one card. Pretty crazy. This Thor Ragnarok story. Now, how can we be seeing this on a card?
Okay, so here's the thing. This card's a 1991 card. And it's depicted from Thor 351 to 353 from Asgard. And if you're a big Now I only recently like really tried to dive into Marvel again because it's like I own all these cards and I think I should know where they come from. I should know the story of all these people, and I only recently, very recently, started to try to like learn all that stuff. So, comic nerds out there, some of my stuff may be a bit off on this, but
hold your rage, all right?
So Ragnarok in the Thor world is a couple of different things, but the big thing is Ragnarok is the process in which Asgard comes to like a destruction and then is reborn again.
Yes.
And that is when Surtur, which is that evil fiery demon which we see in the movie, is able to complete like the prophecy, which is comes out, probably like sticks that giant sword through the core and the whole thing blows up.
Well, it's
Up
not
to
a
that
sword,
point,
it's like his horns.
yeah, and the thing is like he'd been like that regular bad guy, I guess, for the Thor adventures. Someone they normally just slay over and over again, no problem. Like, shut the fuck up, Surtur, get back down. You're not gonna slay it.
Even in the beginning of the movie.
And then even the beginning of the movie, he's like, Surtur, I thought my dad got rid of you.
Yeah.
You know, dude? Like, what are you doing? He just easily beats the snot out of him and leaves, and we don't get to see him again until the end of the movie.
Right.
Now, reminder, guys, we are going to be spoiling the shit out of this movie.
Everything.
If you are watching from this point moving forward and you had not seen the movie yet, this is on you.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Watch the VOD later. Listen to the podcast later. You can find it on Google Play, iTunes,
Yeah, right.
Stitcher,
There you
everywhere.
go.
SoundCloud.
So Ragnarok is the process of like Asgard rebirth, and in the comic series, this is something that has happened multiple times, and something I may refer to again as we go further into the movie to talk about some of the characters, because some of the characters in this movie may not line up accordingly. Like, for example, Hela in the movie is depicted as Thor's sister that he never met. In the comics, though, that's not the case. But maybe in a past version of Ragnarok, Loki actually has Hela, because Hela's supposed to be the daughter of Loki.
Yeah, isn't that what she is actually in the comics?
She actually is. So
yeah.
maybe in like a past iteration of Ragnarok, Loki had Hela, and then, Ragnarok happened, but Hela survived and then was there for the next Ragnarok. Like, there's people throwing out crazy theories like that. But movies are movies. They're going to do their things. They're going to, cut a lot of strings for what comics are, put them together, and just make it work. Because the Marvel Universe and all of its strings on who's who is fucking nuts, Dan.
It doesn't make any sense.
And there's really
it's
no
not
way
supposed to make sense.
So there's a lot of shortcuts they make in this movie, and we'll talk about it as we go. Is like, this is what they did in the movie, and this is what we may have heard about or read or what happened in the comics. We'll be seeing that theme a lot today.
And themes. Okay, so Ragnarok itself is basically the theme for the entire movie, rebirth. Because what we see with Thor is like a complete rebrand of him.
My goodness, yeah.
From the bottom up.
Let's start at the very beginning, because this is definitely something and a hard choice by the director, Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi.
I hope I say that right.
It's a hard name to say. He is a news. I mean, do we want to just break? He's a great guy. We're going to get him to him later.
He's super funny.
Yeah.
I was starting to watch some of his interviews about the movie when he talks about it, and he's clearly like a funny guy. And the way he went into this movie was just so, so fresh. Just like, we didn't even force any of the jokes. We wanted to make almost, the script is just kind of a guide, and a lot of that kind of stuff is just going to be very improvisational, because he was just like, it's not funny if we like write in a joke and then a year later when we shoot it, it's not going to be, it's old memes.
A Marvel Universe film where they supposedly improv 80% of the lines. Like, that doesn't even make sense. How do you even get the studio to agree to that when you're at this scale of a movie? The Marvel Universe is taking a lot of risks now, which is really, really cool.
We saw it with Guardians. Guardians was like probably the big change up in the Marvel Universe, and maybe it's because they felt like this was their best chance to do it, because though Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Guardians of the Galaxy is back from 1950, blah, 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 that version of Guardians. This version of Guardians of the Galaxy that we see in the film is a newer Guardians of the Galaxy from like 2008 or something comic. So since it's more fresh, maybe they felt like they could take a more youthful approach to it, have more fun with it, make it more new age, not so like, I'm the superhero and I'm going to beat you, and maybe say a funny pun.
Tons of similarities between this and Guardians of the Galaxy as well, especially the color palette, which was insane. Like the city in the movie, what's it called again?
Which one?
The main city where Hulk is fighting and stuff.
That is
the garbage
Sakaar.
planet. Sakaar. So Sakaar is like this pastel skyline that you just can't even imagine ever existing in any other movie universe, but it fits now because Guardians of the Galaxy broke the palette open, and you could just have this rainbow of craziness, and then Doctor Strange capitalized on that. I mean, yeah,
we're going to be
look at
hopping
this
all over
stuff.
the place,
It's all
but
crazy.
the thing I love that Taika Waititi did, I wouldn't say Waititi, but Waititi. I'm just going to say Taika probably, just to make
Just
sure.
say
I'm gonna
Taika,
say
that's
it right.
fine.
So director Taika is that he was trying to be very true to the comics in a lot of aspects, and definitely gave a lot of awesome nods to it as well. And you can see it here in the scene with John Kirby's work. I hope it's John Kirby, I say. Kirby's work. And Jack Kirby. Thank you, Eric. Jack Kirby's work, and he's like one of the original comic designers. If you look up across the back, you'll see it all over the walls. It's even decorated on the guards, too. This guy in the back, that's a Celestial, dude. That is straight up a Celestial. The red. And if you guys don't know, Celestials are like the original huge sentinel beings that were like just implanted in all of the planets, like how mutants and superheroes pretty much came to be. Like they are one of the like originals to Marvel Universe.
Dude,
It's
this shot is crazy.
And then this is all from like old comics. You know, this over here is from like a Fantastic Four old school comic. Just the artwork is just plastered all over this. All over the movie.
How much of this is even real in this shot? It looks like everybody's on a green screen and put in later. I guess maybe all the people are, but like the background is definitely replaced. Like look at the corner here.
Yeah.
If we're just like pixel
He had said
peeping on
they
this.
did a lot of blue screen work and some of the
Of
stuff
course.
they showed.
There's so much stuff you have to replace in a movie like this.
It's just
But look at the colors.
so
I mean, look
cool.
at that bright blue, orange, red, yellow, green. Wow, gold. What's happening? Crazy.
very zesty, very fun. And
Again, and so much that this guy's bringing to the table. So let's talk about him. So he comes from New Zealand. He's actually nominated for Academy Award with his shorts. It's called One Night, Two Cars. Like it's 11-minute short. It's about like two little kids in like a parking lot talking to each other. It's kind of like a super indie looking thing. It's like black and white. It's like exactly what you expect from like, oh, this is the short film he made that got him a nod for an Oscar.
oh, okay.
But what he's most famous for is a couple things. His television show, Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, that's him.
Direct and wrote. Yeah, with the other boys from New Zealand. So you have Britt and Jacob, and I can't remember all their names, Jesse or whatever his name is. And that's like a super hype New Zealand funny comedy show. Then he has a couple of films that come out. There is Eagle vs. Shark, which is one of the guys from Flight of the Conchords. And then I think probably what most people know is going to be, what the heck is it called? I got to find it. They Come at Night. Wait, what is it? You know what I'm talking about? This is a vampire movie.
They Come at Night.
No, it's not what it's called. I can't remember what it's called now.
A vampire movie. Twilight.
Oh, God. I'm so embarrassed now. Okay, whatever. What We Do in the Shadows. That's what it's called.
What We Do.
What We Do in the Shadows. It is a
Shadows.
horror comedy with the guys from Flight of the Conchords. Does pretty well.
So how does he suddenly just go from stuff like, don't get me wrong, Flight of the Conchords has a huge reputation, but you
Dude.
go from there to Thor.
I have no idea. They just took a huge risk, basically. They just said, this is what I think. Okay, the Marvel Universe, like you said, we're 17 movies in, okay? We have gone through all of the safe directors. Everybody that you know can confidently handle a budget like that and a crew like that and action scenes like that, they've gone through them all. And frankly, most of those guys are like, I don't really want to do another one unless it's like something really insane, right? But all the really insane ones, they have saved for other directors. So what are you going to do? You got to keep making these movies, and you're trying to reinvent how they approach them. So let's just throw in a curveball here. Let's give a guy a chance. Let's just see what he does. And, I mean, what he did was pretty amazing. Like, I think the question everybody asks, and what I want to ask you is this a comedy
With some action in it.
or is it a superhero movie?
Yeah, I don't know, man. The comedy is just riddled all over the place. Like, right out of the gate, too, the movie opens with Thor in a cage doing, like, the Deadpool-style monologue,
Yeah.
breaking the fourth wall, talking like, oh, so
Yes.
how did I get in this spot kind of a thing. And you're like, okay, so this is what kind of movie we're about to get into now. And it just never stopped.
No.
There was just non-stop quirks, bits, and you could see all the improvisational humor they threw in there and tried to explore. I want to say that there were a few moments where I'm kind of like, okay, it's a little too much. I don't know if this humor is almost distracting from how serious the situation is here, that Asgard's about to blow up almost, but
But I feel like I like that because I'm so personally sick of these superhero movies or just any action movie in general where the stakes are so high. It's like, the Earth is going to end unless this one man does this one thing to this other one man, or the universe is going to end, or what? Like, just this impossible amount of stress on these characters that it really just you become numb to it. Right? For me, even, the action scenes in this movie, I was nodding a little bit at the end. I would say the only part that really was like, not that they weren't sick, they're fucking awesome. I'm just so, like, we've seen it so many times, over and over and over. And it's cool to see things like Thor getting his new powers, and that is when you kind of wake up and you're like, this is new, this is different.
Yeah.
But giant fucking monster in the sky and Hulk jumping around and whatever.
Yeah, it felt like all the Hela fights were like, she's throwing daggers out. People were dying.
What was not bad, though, was the callback to the Hela. So Hela is the goddess of death, which is her sister. And the Valkyrie, when she originally fought them, that super slow-mo, like all that phantom footage that they used, and it was just like, oh, my God. That was like a painting come to life. That was amazing.
It's amazing. And that's another like fun little comic nod, and this is where I did some research, but I can't retain stuff like the names. Like, she is one of like the original Valkyrie, but she wasn't the Valkyrie that was like highlighted and depicted in the comics, but you see her in that scene as the one who comes up to attack Hela and sacrifice her own life, while you see the character from the movie, which I forget her name already, Dan, was like, fuck, and just ran away.
In the comics?
In the scene we saw where the Valkyries were attacking Hela.
Oh,
right?
That's what happened? She runs to the end?
So you see the original Valkyrie character who had been signified in the comics.
The blonde.
The blonde.
Yeah.
And I can't remember her name, guys. I'm super sorry. You see her in that scene, go for the blow, try to be the sacrifice for Hela, and you see our Valkyrie character from the movie. Like,
right.
Oh, shit.
I'm out.
And then that's where she like let off and at some point got sidetracked to Sakaar. So some crazy action stuff there. But yeah, all the Hela stuff felt very, maybe the Thor versus Hulk fight,
that was
at
cool.
Sakaar. It was pretty awesome.
That was one-on-one, and the stakes are not so high, right? It's who's going to win this, which is like, great. You want to see these two fight.
Yeah.
Right? We haven't really seen them really go at it with no holds barred.
Yeah. In Avengers, they had like those funny little like elbowing moments, and they did square off a bit, and they had that kind of small rivalry thing, and I think the first Avengers movie, but here you get to see them
Look at short-haired
build
fucking
that
Thor.
relationship again, yeah.
Short-haired Thor. Okay, talking Hulk, like actually talking Hulk, which was really fun. I don't think they've explored that to the extent that they did in this.
Well, they totally did it different, like you were saying before. They took Bruce and made something new out of him, and they acknowledged it in one of the interviews I checked out. And what's his name? The guy who plays Bruce,
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo.
Ruffalo.
He was happy with the new choice. He liked the new Bruce. He was like, he was just super like, oh, and I'm so happy and thankful that they kind of went a newer direction with Bruce, because like, obviously, at the whole beginning, we don't get to see much of him. We see Hulk, who's, almost lovable at some points with the way he's
like a child.
I'm fire.
That-
You watch her.
They made him like a child Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Like this kid giant. He's like a dodo kind of,
And then when we see Bruce, he's like a normal guy. He has like a bunch of funny little jokes and shticks. He's kind of like, I don't know
squirrely.
what the fuck's happening, man. What's going on? Where in the other movies, it was just, I am a brilliant scientist and I become the Hulk when I'm angry.
He was very confident.
Here he's very like vulnerable almost, just kind of like, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Which makes sense. His character, so in this movie, he's been trapped inside Hulk. Hulk
2 years.
has been Hulk for 2 years, and Bruce Banner has completely disappeared inside of Hulk. And they basically have separated and they use this analogy in the movie. Before it felt like we each had one hand on the wheel. Now Hulk has both hands on the wheel, and I'm locked in the trunk. That was kind of like
cool.
the state of mind that he had. But what's interesting about this is how they shot it, which is different than how they shot the Hulk scenes in the past. Before they would have like some kind of stand-in or something, or just like literally like kind of a tennis ball of like, Hulk's here, guys, like talk to him over here. In this, Mark Ruffalo gets to act as Hulk for all the scenes.
I remember hearing in those interviews like Mark was there, and I'm like, how did they make that work? Because we saw so much Hulk at the beginning and all these kind of scenes. So
It's
that's what
all
they did.
him. Yeah.
Really? So how? Because I remember when he said as well, because they had to obviously, and you can see it right here. If Mark is there, that he's not looking at him right now.
Right.
He's looking above him. So they had to drill eye lines for
Yeah.
the actors. And this is where it's a big challenge for the actors, is that you have to give that conviction while looking at the dude's dick. And
Yeah.
and that's what he said. Bruce had to look at Thor's like dick for his eye line, Dan, to be able to make it look authentic. Like, dude, you're huge on this
Really?
bed. You're gonna have to look down, and that's your eye line.
Oh,
And
that's so fun.
And that's
That's so fun.
and
Look
so
at
you're
his
sitting
dick.
there trying to like maybe lecture Thor while looking at his hang dang. It's really weird, but
Yeah,
that's
I mean, it's that
acting, you know?
crazy capture technology they use now, where they're not shooting you on green screen. They're plugging you right in the screen. They're covering you in little dots. They're using all kinds of crazy technology that is well beyond what we do here, and then in post, putting it all together, taking that motion capture, applying it to the character. Then an animator comes in, tweaks everything, makes it super special. But
it's so much more of an extra challenge and appreciation for some of the actors and why they're so good at the work they do, because in addition to all those funky things you have to challenge with, like weird eye lines, like when you're acting with someone, it's like, he's right there, I know, but can you look this way and do everything as convincing? Now, add that to he's wearing a skin-tight suit with tennis balls all over his head. Try to keep a straight face when you tell him that his father died. It's like, whatever. That is such a huge challenge for an actor to be able to just brush all that away, go to your place, and do it. Or in a lot of these scenes, they'll shoot the actors one at a time. The whole fight scene with Thor versus Hulk, they did that one at a time. So you got to bring your A game. You got to have those trades and make it convincing, like as the person's right there. Maybe they'll have like some offset actor read the lines back, but he's not going to read them back the same way that you might deliver them.
it's crazy,
So
dude.
it's a lot of work, so.
What do you think about? So I feel like there's two bromances in this movie.
Oh, yeah?
It's Hulk and Thor. Like, I don't think that Banner and Thor actually have a bromance, but Hulk and Thor have a bromance, right? They have that one scene where they're throwing stuff at each other and fighting, and it's very much so like they love each other and they're mad, and that's why they're fighting. And then you have Loki and Thor.
Which is it's a great point, because as we know, these are brothers. It's like, yeah, we're always brothers, but Loki, you've always been an asshole your own life.
Yeah.
But in this movie, we get to see a lot of different things. We get to see them have an acceptance of that they do love each other.
Yeah.
There's like a moment in the elevator where Thor is kind of accepted that, Loki, I know that you're just going to pretty much go and do whatever the fuck you want. And that's just who you are.
Yeah, and he's not going to let it trick him anymore. But
And
here's
I'm not
my
gonna stop
question.
you.
I feel like the next step in this franchise is a road trip movie. Now, I think road trip movie is like in Marvel is very different, right? It's probably at the galactic scale, and involves some type of, Infinity Stones and Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever. But I can imagine a Thor road trip movie, and I want to know, who would you rather have in your Thor road trip movie? Is it Thor and Hulk, or is it Thor and Loki?
Ooh, Thor and Loki. I mean, the God of Mischief is only going to create more entertainment than if Bruce is going along and you're counting on just natural occurrences to force him to be the Hulk and have some action. Whereas Loki's probably going to bring a lot of that himself, just because he's the God of Mischief.
He sucks that
He
stuff
can't
in.
help
Yeah.
himself, Dan. At the end of this movie, spoiler, he takes the stone, the cube.
The Cube.
Can't help himself.
That's why
God of
I
Mischief.
love his character. I love how his character has evolved. I love how their relationship has evolved, and I'm the same way. If I want to see a Thor and Loki road trip movie where they are loving each other and fucking each other over the entire time, and it's like they keep on getting to calamitous after calamitous event. So you never really answered. Is this a comedy or is it a superhero movie?
I don't know, dude.
Here, I'll give you what I
comedy?
think.
Is that what we call it?
I think it's super comedy. That's fine, because I was hoping for it to be more of a comedy. I wish there was less of the big set piece action scenes. I wish there was more focused on the people, and like you've talked about a lot when we're talking about this movie, it's like humanizing these characters through just like normal interactions.
You have moments where like Thor is like sees the girl in this movie and puts his arm up on the wall, and his arm like slips off, and he has to like do it. Like
He's
they
like-
really go the mile to like humanize.
He's
these
like
characters.
fumbling with when he's with Doctor Strange, and he's like fumbling with all the spears at his thing. Like that whole scene is like ridiculous.
They really like show like these aren't guys who can walk into a room, command it, and just they control every step and are just perfect in every way. Like no, they come in, they're human.
And
They're
Thor has
essentially-
always been like that, though. Thor, to me, has been such an interesting character in the Marvel Universe because he has allowed them to just take a totally different approach. And he's always been a meathead.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who was arrogant, really, even in
Yes.
his story. And that's how he got casted to Earth, is that he's like, I'm free heir to the throne. I'm the shit.
Yeah.
I got my hammer. What are you going to do?
And he's way more of a dick, and now he's way more lovable.
And Odin's like, shut up, man. Go to Earth. Now you got to earn it again. And he does earn it back in their own ways, whether it be through the movie or the comics, but he gets that back. And obviously he learns his lessons and gets to go back to Asgard
here's
with
what
power.
I think. People are so surprised by this movie being a comedy and like, wow, they totally flipped the script. I really don't think they did. I think they've been doing this with Thor from the beginning. I think there's one scene in Thor 1 that really sets up Thor as a comedy movie. Okay, first off, if we just go back in time, all right, the release of Thor movie. Everybody thinks it's going to be shit. I don't know if you remember this. So this comes out. Marvel movies are way focused on big, giant action. Avengers is being kind of thrown about. There's all this stuff. Captain America had come out already, and it was just
seen
a
all the
very
X-Men's. And
Yeah.
those were getting more intense as
But
their
this-
series went on.
This is like the first look we really get at a character that people were unsure about, Thor, getting his own movie, because it kind of seemed ridiculous and it kind of seemed silly. And for me, that original Thor was really awesome. I love that movie. I thought it was super cool, very refreshing. And there's one scene, and Eric, I have it in the document. There's a diner scene towards the end, but it's the scene that I think sets up all of the rest of Thor's kind of like life in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I even saw all of the first Thor movies, so this will be.
Well, it's
good to see.
it's a short scene, and it's like really one joke. But it had me fucking rolling the first time I saw it, and they keep going through with this. So here's the first scene where I think Thor breaks out as his own character, and he's different, and they're allowed to do more stuff with him because of this one scene. So let's watch that.
How'd you get inside that cloud?
Also, how could you eat an entire box of Pop-Tarts and still be this hungry?
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Sorry, Izzy, little accident.
What was that?
It was delicious. I want another.
Well, you could have just said so.
I just did.
No, I mean, ask nicely.
I meant no disrespect.
All right, well, no more smashing. Deal?
You have my word.
That's great. All right.
I love it. I mean, I didn't really watch that movie. You could just see the arrogance right there.
Yes.
It's like you could tell he just got cast to Earth from Odin. And he's like trying to figure it out. That was awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so first off, it does one thing. Thor, in the Marvel universe as it is, has always been a fish out of water story. Okay, like he's a guy cast to Earth. He doesn't know anything. He's totally out of place, and because of that, it allows you to set up these moments where he is doing what he thinks is right, but it's totally ridiculous in his new setting because he's just fish out of water. So in Asgard, he finishes a drink. He wants another. He smashes it on the ground.
Yes,
and
master.
He gets another, right? And here, he likes coffee. He's had his coffee for the first time, so he's just like, another! And just like smash it on the
It was
ground.
delicious.
It's great. So they take this, and for me, again, that was one of the big comedic notes in this movie. There are a couple others, but it starts building. So then they have a marketing campaign around the new Avengers movie, and then there's one more clip I want to say. I don't know if you saw any of these, but they were hilarious.
I think I heard about these.
A huge step for Marvel in
And
being
this
like...
these were like what, promotional shorts for
yeah,
the movie?
Yeah, they were promoted online and on television. But it was like what I think is where Marvel really gets it, that they can do so much more with these characters. And I don't think people give them enough credit that they've been really setting the groundwork for this. This isn't a mistake, guys. They didn't just really like take that giant leap of faith with this movie and be like, we're going to make it funny. Thor has been funny. Hemsworth has been funny. They have snuck this in and you just haven't noticed it, and you've been conditioned to understand
It obviously would have felt almost like Thor was like bipolar if they're suddenly just going to make him
Right.
this funny. Like, they definitely amped it up.
Oh,
you can't deny that.
no, of
They're
course.
like, he was 10% funny, and now we're going to make him suddenly 60%. Like,
Yeah, even more in this.
Yeah,
He might have been
it's
more. Almost
quite
every
crazy.
line he says is funny
but
in that movie.
it didn't feel unnatural, like super
No.
unnatural. It
No.
felt like he was able to just kind of he was always kind of a funny guy, but now he's surrounded by some really funny people at times, and they're enabling him, they're enabling each other, and they get to have some fun. It's weird
Right.
to say that stuff about a superhero movie, but
Yeah.
just
So
fun,
again, I
you know?
think you got to give him credit. And so here is one of the marketing campaigns with Thor where I think they really took their first big risk and did some awesome work.
Let's check
I
it
can't
out.
pay rent with these things. One's a pumpkin, and these Asgardian coins, they're not worth anything.
In Asgard, these coins are worth a gazillion human dollars, okay? There's a gazillion, you're rich. There's a gazillion. Gazillion.
No one will exchange these.
Go to the market, set up a stall, and write
Yeah.
Asgardian ware. Previously owned by Thor. I'm a celebrity that will sell like hotcakes.
You might need to think about getting a job.
Get a job? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I have a job. Do you know what my job is? I save the planet.
Yeah.
Maybe you should get a job.
I have a job.
Really?
know what my job is.
Hitting the machine with the words that come out of it. Oh, this is knowledge. Knowledge is power. No, it's not. Knowledge is not power. That's power. The brain is a muscle, and that's a muscle, and that's a muscle. And they are all muscles. This is all muscle. So I am covered in brains, and I have more brains than you.
So do you think maybe we could just think
I
about...
think we need a servant.
I don't think we can get a servant.
We should get a servant.
I don't think we can
it's
get a
settled.
servant.
We're getting a servant.
Dude, how funny is that? I feel like a lot of people forget that those happen. There's a whole series of them. Chris Hemsworth is he nails it, dude. He is another great movie he's good as Cabin in the Woods. You ever seen that one? Yeah, Cabin in the Woods.
Terrible movie? Wait. Is
No.
that the infamously terrible movie?
No, is it Cabin in the Woods or is it?
Cabin Fever. That is a terrible movie.
No, Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is a genre bender horror movie that I would just suggest you watch, and I don't tell you anything about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe we'll do an episode about it because it's so fucking weird.
I've heard some things.
He's
about
great in it though.
Okay.
So look at they've done great work. Chris Hemsworth has done great work. Then they bring in this new director and they say, let's just fucking go all balls to the wall.
The seeds of humor have been planted for sure, and director Taika really just takes it to a new level with this movie. So with that, let's segue into. I just labeled side breakers, like some of the funniest moments in this movie for you. I know the one that definitely was my funniest movie.
I know my funniest.
But I will say a good nomination would be when Thor and Hulk are battling it out on Sakaar, and Loki's obviously there, and he's incredibly nervous once he sees Hulk is on the planet. And then once Hulk manages to get a hold of Thor and give him the Loki treatment, slamming around, and Loki's like, yeah, that's how it feels.
Dude, it's like the same thing he did to Loki,
too. He did the exact same movement.
Yeah.
I love that they gave that nod to the Avengers.
Dude, yeah, that was great. Earlier in that scene, by the way, really cool improv note, when Hulk first comes out and Hemsworth is ready to fight, and then he sees it's Hulk, and he's oh, I know him, and he says a line. He says,
"We work together."
Oh, don't worry, I know him from work.
Yeah.
That line was improv by a kid who was visiting on set that day from Make-A-Wish Foundation.
What?
And he gave the line, and they used it, and it's the one they took.
I heard it was improv. I had no
Yeah.
idea it was
Isn't that
from
cool?
someone on the set.
Our boy Peter
Especially.
McCormick hooked me up with that little fun nugget. Yeah. So again, improv always. But that scene, hilarious.
I know. Since we're talking about that scene, like a really cool thing, and what was a comic nod, is for them to finally give Thor the helmet when he was about to battle in that.
Yeah, he had a cool
People
helmet.
for so long are like, "Come on, guys! I know that the Thor helmet looks so stupid. It's like a
With the
little tin
feathers
hat
and
with
the tin,
little wings.
Or
It's
the
like,
wings, yeah.
How are they gonna make that look badass?
That's how you do it.
You can't really do it, but they did. They found a way. They found this pretty cool looking, battle helmet, and they made it work. All right, Dan.
I know my funniest scene.
What's your funniest scene?
My funniest scene is when later on the planet they have Loki tied up, and they're talking in a little circle about all the terrible things Loki has done. And they're like talking about these big, ridiculous, oh, he tried to kill me. Oh, he tried to destroy my planet. Oh, he did destroy my planet, whatever. And then Thor goes and he's like, and then once when we were little kids, we were playing and he pretended to be, he turned into a snake because he knows I love snakes. So I went to pick up the snake to hold it. And then he turned back into Loki. And then he scared me and said, boo. And then he stabbed me. And it was like.
The funniest thing is that is from a real Thor comic.
Really?
That happened. Eric, you could try to use your Google Foo to find it. It wasn't like when they were kids, but that was just, that whole dialogue was a nod to an old past comic that had happened where Loki was a snake. And I think he did stab Thor, but it was just like one of those classic, like Loki's the evil villain and turned into a snake. And the snake also had represented some crazy Nordic like ancient figurine and stuff. So
I
there was a
love
lot
that
of nods
line,
there.
dude. I love that line. I thought it was improv. That's funny.
And after he said it, he's like, they did that shot
Yeah.
at Loki, and Loki's like, he started laughing about it.
I remember that. That was great.
Just so wonderful. It was great. But I can't believe you didn't pick this to be your funniest moment.
I know, because I knew it was yours. I knew it was yours.
When Bruce, when Bruce Banner is in the helicopter and he's getting ready to make his grand entrance onto the bridge to be the Hulk, and we've seen it many times in other movies where he's like, just watch, or go get him, big guy, and they shove him off the plane, or they shove him off the helicopter, or they shove him down to the hole, and then suddenly he's the Hulk.
Yeah.
Not this time,
Not this
Dan.
time, no.
Dives off the helicopter, lands straight on the bridge.
As a human,
As
dude.
a human Bruce.
Bonk. He just like
And
plunks over.
you see the jump off happen, and in your mind, you're kind of like, God, it'd be hilarious if he just happened to land on that bridge as a human, and they did it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was pissing myself in the theater.
I remember you audibly screeched in laughter in the theater when we saw it. It was really funny. I was laughing, but you were like popping out of your seat laughing. That was great. I still think the snake scene is better because it felt so natural, but that one really had me going. Do you have like a standout scene besides that? So those are like our funniest scenes. What else stands out?
I don't know.
What about
There's
just
a
like
lot of standouts.
performances, dude? So there's 2 new players in the game here. Okay, Kate Blanchett and my boy Jeffy Goldblum. Who do you want to talk about? I got different things to talk about.
We'll start with Jeff Goldblum because I feel like he had the easier role for this movie.
Played Jeff Goldblum?
He played Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master, essentially, is what it was. He had his funny little quirks. Now, the Grand Master as a comic character is like fucking huge. He's like up there with, he's right with the Collector. They're brothers, technically. Collector was from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 at the end.
Oh,
who
they're
had the
brothers?
stone. They're brothers. So there's
You fucking nerd, you
people
know all that
are
shit?
expecting them to have a scene together at some point, at least.
They gotta.
So we don't know if, because at the end of this movie, very end, I'm talking end credit scene, they kind of put it up in the air whether or not the Grandmaster is killed off in this movie because of the full-blown revolt that actually happens on Sakaar. So anyways, Jeff Goldblum playing the Grandmaster, a man of huge power. You don't really get to see any of his power, his actual powers or whatever in this movie, just that he is a huge
He has powers?
man. I think so. I mean, he's
What
a
is his
huge
powers?
I don't know, dude. I'd have to like
Oh,
find
we
his
have to
comic
look it up.
art
Don't look it up, you
but-
nerd. It's fine. Yeah. Okay. I love him. It really did though. It's funny. He's one of these actors now who doesn't actually have to play a character. He has a caricature version of himself that he puts into movies and other characters. So I feel like a lot of it actually comes from his appearances on Tim and Eric, awesome show. He did a lot of work with them, starting at Tom Goes to the Mayor, which is one of Tim and Eric's like first shows. So Jeff Goldblum, his first appearance on Tom Goes to the Mayor is unbelievable. And then he's on Tim and Eric Awesome Show, and he continues to make appearances throughout their work, all right? And I feel like in that, he just starts becoming this ridiculous version of himself. And then he was in these commercials for, maybe it was a TV. I can't remember. Do you remember? The credit card. It was credit card commercials.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so he's, huh? Oh, it was Finding Apartments? Okay, yeah. So he's in all these commercials. And then you see him here, and as soon as I saw the first image of him, it was like they just want Jeff Goldblum to be Jeff Goldblum. Like, he was so silly and ridiculous. Every one of his scenes, you're like ready for him to like just make you laugh and his perfect timing and how he does everything.
Yeah, I have 50-50 feelings about it because I love Jeff Goldblum. I love what he did. His humor is hilarious. He was great. But then you're seeing like the Grandmaster. You're seeing a guy who probably didn't even have to learn anything about who the Grandmaster is, just be himself. So you're kind of like, And I'm like looking through already and reading a bit about who the Grandmaster is. Although the Grandmaster can resurrect most living beings after their deaths, this is a guy with ridiculous power. He is an elder of the universe.
What?
You wouldn't know that just based on Jeff Goldblum playing him. You know what I mean?
Well, they do say that it makes sense because they mentioned that he is like millions of years old, basically.
Capable of traversing space, time, and the dimensions. The Grandmaster once journeyed to the alternate Earth inhabited by Squadron Supreme. Like, this is a guy who can do whatever the fuck he wants, Dan.
And in the movie, he just has a melting stick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He doesn't even hold it. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
He's like, I don't want to use it. The one funny part with like Loki when it's like, he's like, she hands him the stick and he's like, I'm not going to use the melting stick on me. He just interrupted me. It's not worthy of melting him. You know, it's
so
like,
many like humane moments
look at this.
for a guy.
Look at his makeup.
who's
Amazing makeup. It's like perfectly funny. The little eyeliner, the like blue shade.
and his character is just of gross ultimate power. But we don't know as far as where his character is going to be after this movie. At the end of it, they imply that the revolt's happening and that he could be jumped by the people. But again, this is a guy who could travel through space in an instant, so they could just easily go, oh yeah, he simply just killed everyone, or oh yeah, he just left, or
bye,
whatever. So this might not be the end of Jeff
Supposedly
Goldblum.
Also, there was an entirely different post-sequence scene.
Oh yeah,
that was shot where him and his like sidekick henchman, the number two,
yeah,
who is not featured in that post sequence. They actually have snuck onto a ship.
Oh,
and they have to be like in the line at the end is something like, we have to be like super sneaky or whatever, and they like go under a blanket or some shit like that.
Did they film this, or you said that they concepted
this? They filmed this.
Oh, they actually filmed it. Oh,
yes.
so this is
yes.
It's,
so this is something
it's a pretty hard hunch that they are going to be possibly.
Dude, he's coming back. How do you not have him come back?
Yeah.
Especially if he's actually like, I think it feels like kind of one of those Yoda things where you introduce his character and he's really silly and funny, and you don't reveal so quickly that he is actually all powerful.
Yeah, they'll probably run into it later and like, wait, holy shit, And he's like, oh yeah, I just went back and watched.
Yeah,
with my brother. I don't know. They could do that.
Yeah,
these characters have that kind of power.
He's gonna come back strong.
Now the other standout, you're talking about the Hela.
Yes, Kate Blanchett.
Evil. I love that
Hela
she felt
Gods of
very.
Death.
She felt very. And I feel like this is a terrible thing to say to a woman. But she felt older. She felt mature. She felt powerful.
Yes.
And I like that.
Well, she's the older sister.
Yeah, she didn't feel like a youthful, like degenerate. She just felt like mature and very powerful figure.
She walked in, controlled the room.
Command.
Yes, exactly. Like from the first scene where it's like, first off, it's Loki and Thor, two humongous figures that take over the screen every time they're on screen. And Kate Blanchett walks in and takes over that screen, and they feel tiny and little and completely. By the way, costume change. This all is green in the movie. All this highlight stuff. This must be a still from before they changed it. But her costume is different a little bit in the movie. It's green.
Really notice that.
All line is green. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Eric.
Well, she's in Asgard here, and I think it's just before.
A lot of didn't implement in Asgard, but yeah, that's crazy.
So, first off, her costume. I love her costume. I'm not so sold on the helmet. I don't know what it is.
It's a nod to the comic again. That's how she looks. I mean, you have to do it just the same way they finally got Thor to wear his helmet.
But hers is like CG.
It is. I mean, she does the whole like whoosh,
which
goes
is
from
sick.
The Videl Sassoon into,
Yeah, she's got her cool black hair, and then it turns into a cool black helmet. But
dominatrix setup going here.
Like Loki's helmet is kind of silly, but it's a real helmet.
Yeah.
And so it kind of grounds the helmet.
I wouldn't have minded their interpretation of this helmet to make it look a little more badass. Right now, it just seems very nuts, but maybe that's just who the character is.
I just don't like that it's CG. I don't know. Like, you can see, like, look at all this shit. I mean, obviously
they did a lot of
render.
stuff with that. Big thing that Eric was vocalizing about was just even the eye patches were all like CG, unlike Odin.
I mean, there was an incredible amount of CG. We stayed for all the credits and stuff, and we looked at, there's probably 20 different VFX firms.
Not people.
Firms.
20 different firms of people.
Like design studios, and then they each of those hire out like 5 other subcontractors to work on stuff. And so my problem with that is that
I made the horn on the left.
Exactly. There's this weird consistency thing where it felt like in this movie, some of the VFX were so dope, and then some of them were so bad. Like, alarmingly and shockingly bad for a Marvel movie.
I mean, I would imagine you're reaching out to so many different people who do this work that the level of capability is going to be a bit all over the place.
I guess, but I mean, you have a movie like... It just feels like maybe they didn't have enough time, or, they went a little cheaper on it. I don't know what the budget was, but, it did feel like... I can name, 5 scenes off the top of my head where I was like, that looks like shit.
Yeah, I mean, the lightning, it's like... I'd seen that stuff in, Mortal Kombat Raiden.
Yeah.
It looked okay. It wasn't, mega...
But the lightning I don't mind, right? The lightning was pretty cool, especially when it's... Thor's walking around. He looks fucking badass. Scenes that really stuck out as terrible to me was... One, this room... I think it was, right after this shot, where they go from here, they go to the sword, and they push through outside. It looked like... Honestly, it looked like worse than a shot that we'd put together for the summit in a day, It was really shit. The chains in the opening scene where Thor is wrapped up and hanging, all those chains were CG, and they looked awful. Just awful. There's a couple of different scenes in there where it was just like, I'm actually taken out of the scene right now because the CG is so bad. But then other shit obviously is like, it looks incredible and you couldn't even imagine ever how they did it.
Like maybe that scene where Thor gets first sent off into Sakaar and his brother, where they're doing that, I can't remember the name of the thing, where they're doing the traveling and they're trying to, they just hit the sword or whatever and they're trying to fly off to Asgard.
Yeah, and they're going through like the Rainbow Road.
That whole sequence is pretty nuts.
Yeah,
like,
that was sick. Because they're like, what's really cool about that is like, she's like choking him against the wall and all the like glass is like shattering, but it's like rainbow glass and it all looks crazy. Yeah, the road to Asgard is such a cool concept because it could be really lame because it's literally Rainbow Road. But the way that they design that, the art direction behind it is really sick.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. But I mean, I think a lot of us were shocked when we walked out at the movie of how up and down some of these effects were. Yeah. But I'm super excited that she's in the universe. I think she is a great cast.
Yeah, she's not done. We can't, she, at the end of this movie, the Ragnarok prophecy does fulfill. We see Surtur able to kind of destroy the planet. Thor's, they get to that point where Thor's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to defeat you, but he can, as the prophecies will fill out. But it's Hela. The planet may blow up, but she could just be flying through space. We've seen that happen with a lot of these other characters. It works.
Flying through
Thor
space.
was flying through space, supposedly in the new Infinity trailer. Thor's flying through space and lands on the Guardians of the Galaxy spaceship. Before that, in the Thor 1 or 2 movie, Loki was flying through space for pretty much a whole movie. So flying through space is just something that's okay to happen. So we could say the same for Hela in this one. She could be flying through space and maybe makes a return into a future film. So she might not be done yet.
I hope so. I liked her a lot. I want to see her be more powerful. I think she has a lot more power. Obviously, it says she gets her power from Asgard, so she was just amassing it as we got into her, and then they destroyed Asgard.
I want to talk about her a little bit more as far as her character because it's super funny how they put this character together for the film when you consider the comics in case. So this one's for all the comic nerds out there. She's pretty much a combination of a couple of different comic book characters, actually. Because in the books, I already mentioned this before, Hela is technically the daughter of Loki.
Yeah. Now,
they didn't do that in this movie. They obviously said that she is the hidden daughter of Odin, who was locked away because her power is too crazy. Well, she and Odin used to ride together in arms, destroying everything.
They conquered the 9 realms together.
And then Odin's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not an evil guy. You're evil. You're too evil. So we're going to lock you away.
You're too good at your job.
Yeah, you're going to lock you away. I'm going to have some other kids, and we're going to just try to live our lives without you. But he did have other daughters and sons that have not been acknowledged at all in this film universe, if you will.
I'm so antsy right now.
Because Thor's actual daughter in the comics is Angela. He has a daughter named Angela who's like a good character.
What is she like a goddess of?
She's just, I don't know.
I don't know. She's Angela?
I don't know what she's god of, actually.
She's a waitress down at the diner on 4th Street,
Yeah, she's god of blonde hair, probably.
Angela.
And then he had another brother, which I couldn't catch the name of, who was actually an evil brother and did get casted away. So they kind of combined both of those elements. Like she's a hidden away sister that's evil who got locked away, and just put that together into this character.
I like that there's always, you're either good or evil. There's no like neutral.
There's kind of neutral characters, I'd say. Maybe like Ghost Rider.
Ooh, Ghost Rider, really?
The Robin Hood characters that kind of like do evil because they think it's for the good. And it's like, yeah, you're getting rid of evil guys, but you're really bad, man. You shouldn't kill them. You should put them in jail. Like kind of those people.
I guess, but those are still. I mean, Ghost Rider is very close to being neutral in that he doesn't fight for good or evil, but.
In Civil War, we got to see the heroes who just kind of were stuck down the middle and ended up doing a bit of evil things to get their message across. They take dark tones. In the comics, though, they do make it a little more.
For me, I think that all these guys are basically a hero, a villain, or an anti-hero. I don't think that most of them are neutral. I think all the neutral people are usually just anti-heroes. I think Ghost Rider is an anti-hero. I think Batman is arguably an anti-hero more than a hero. Mm-hmm. Superman is a hero, She's a villain. He's ultimately a hero.
We'll get to this guy
he
in
gets
a second.
Brought back
That's
and forth,
for sure. The one last thing I will say about Hela and her character, and something they may end up doing with the film series, is, and they say it, she's the goddess of death.
Yeah.
So they could end up turning her into death. Because in the
what I was
comic
wondering.
series,
we were talking a lot about it.
Death is like they have a woman who's like the embodiment of death. And it's the character that Thanos has a hard-on for, really. It's like lusting after to appease death. And they could make her that character in this. I don't think they showed death yet. And she
Peter
is a
said
part
that
of
they
the Infinity
gave
Universe.
a glimpse of depth in one of the movies.
They might have.
In one of the Avengers movies or something, there's like
Okay.
a glimpse of it. But I think it just makes sense. If you're going from a fan logic, like of a casual movie-going fan, I think it is way too confusing to have two people so closely associated with death. I understand that, yes, she is the goddess of death,
And one's
and then
just
there is
death.
actually death. I think that makes sense to a comic fan and to a kind of more hardcore fan. I think for your generic audience that Marvel is going after, it doesn't, and you just stick with one. I'm willing to bet. Also, Kate Blanchett is beautiful, and you can understand why Thanos would love her, and she could stand up to Thanos in a scene. Think about that. Think about how you have to do that. You have to humanize Thanos. If they have another big CG weird thing next to Thanos, this big CG weird thing, you're not going to really connect with those characters at all. But if it's him going after her, you're going to be like, I get that.
I'm really, really excited to see what they do. I'm jumping way ahead, but what
Yeah,
they're gonna be
now
doing
we're
with
spoiling
Thanos.
Infinity Wars, just
But
so.
well, there was the one trailer that they released at Comic-Con.
I haven't even seen it.
Way back. But maybe we'll check it out at the back end of this.
I don't want to fucking
episode.
watch it.
But I'm curious how they. I just want to say I'm curious how they do Thanos, because Thanos he's got human in him, a little bit of human in him. So you got to bring that human to the table with them as well, like you were saying.
Who's the actor?
Can't remember his name. Is it the Hellboy guy?
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin.
Also going to be playing Cable. So one of the characters, one of the few people that are playing two superheroes in the same universe. Can you name another Marvel?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
He plays like the original. He plays Deadpool and
it's
Green
like-
Lantern.
Yeah, Deadpool and Green Lantern, and he also plays arguably an alternative version of Deadpool in like the X-23
Wolverine
or whatever
movie.
in the
Yeah,
Wolverine
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And then I'm thinking of Captain America. What the hell's his name? What? Chris Evans. Thanks. Eric's tossing out all kinds of
Eric
dope
is the
shit. Eric
man.
is a
He's-
fucking nerd. Okay, so Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, also played the Flame On, Johnny Flame from Fantastic Four.
You're right.
Yeah, Flame On. Who's, by the way, his greatest role ever is not another teen movie, but we won't talk about that right now.
That's a great movie too.
It's fucking hilarious. In that.
You never know. They had a recent, Disney's talking with Fox, and maybe Marvel and Fox will have a thing in the future, and maybe we'll get one of those great movies where Fantastic Four is getting involved with the universe a bit, and then we're gonna have an awkward situation of, well, who's gonna be playing the Torch? Who's gonna be playing Captain America?
Yeah.
Who's Deadpool? Who's Green Lantern? So it'll be really
They're
fun
probably
to
just
see
like
all that.
whatever like their best at is gonna be who they are, right?
Cable
so like,
and
yeah,
Thanos.
Could Cable and Thanos have a scene together?
I don't know. And comic-wise, I don't know of times that they met each other, because Cable revolves a lot around Apocalypse.
Yeah,
That
his storyline
yeah.
is more the time traveling.
It is nuts, dude.
I love that shit.
Recently went back to dive into Cable's storyline, and it
Who's his daughter?
ridiculous.
Is it the blue girl?
He's son of Cyclops, of course, as we know, or son of a cloned
Yeah.
Jean Grey and Cyclops, and then but I don't know who his daughter is. It Psylocke, as you say, maybe? I don't know.
No. I thought it was
I don't know.
Oh God, I don't remember. But yeah, he's he's most famous for being the son of our
But his
homie
whole
Jean
thing
Grey.
revolves around Apocalypse, so I don't know if they're gonna have an interaction or not. It's a lot to talk about, but let's not jump too far ahead here. Damn it, Daniel.
I mean, this is the Marvel Universe. This is what we get into when you get in the Marvel Universe. You take one scoop of dirt out, and you're like, oh man, I can just go forever, because
Yeah.
it's just there's so much to get into.
Crazy for the writers to try to somehow find these strings.
So you
to touch each
mentioned
other a
really
bit.
quickly the lightning. What do you think of Super Saiyan Thor? Do we need the hammer anymore?
Well, this is great. I actually have a point about that, and I don't know if I wrote it down here or not. So the thing is obviously the message from the movie was Odin saying, "You're not the god of hammers. You're the god of thunder. You don't need this hammer. The thunder's always within you, right?"
Is it thunder or
And
lightning?
He said god of thunder. He's god of thunder, but he shoots lightning. Thunder's like
The noise.
the noise.
Okay, whatever. Yeah,
Whatever.
go on.
He's like, the powers are within you, not that you need the hammer. But in the comics, Dan, it's supposed to be, and I can't believe I can't find it here. I'm gonna keep looking it up. The hammer. Okay. In the comics, the hammer itself is more of a sentient cosmic storm that has been caught within the hammer, and that the hammer itself decides who is worthy of actually bearing it.
Right,
So-
we understand that from the books, but does Thor need a hammer anymore?
In the movies, it doesn't look like it. It looks like they're going to be having him move on without the hammer. And there are future comics where Thor is fighting with more of like a staff, javelin, knife blade.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get a new weapon.
And I think in the trailer that you have not seen yet, there's there's been a still where he's holding clearly some sort of staffed weapon.
Really?
But they don't show the head of it. And it really looks similar to one of the future Thor comics.
Okay.
That he has that weapon. But again, there's a lot of inconsistencies between what we have seen in Thor Ragnarok and what has already been shown in the Infinity Wars trailer. And I can give you one really good example of that. Is Thor in Ragnarok, as we saw, loses his eye, Dan.
Crazy. Spoiler.
His eye's gone.
Dude, I missed that somehow. I think it was during like an action scene when I was like kind of passing out because the fucking scenes are so boring, but like.
And now that I think about it, I don't remember the exact moment where
I don't remember where it pops out. I was like, oh, wait,
he gets
you got a black
something
eye?
with hello, sure, yeah. He gets his eye blasted off, right? And at the end of the movie, even he has a patch on. He puts the patch that looks just like his dad. So it's like, oh,
Which
he looks
is
like
sick.
his dad.
He looks badass.
But when we had seen that Infinity Wars trailer and when he landed on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship, his eyes were fine.
Well, because there's no spoilerino.
Because there's no spoilerino. So they probably made that choice to make sure they didn't spoil anything. And I have a still of this on my document, Eric. In the future comics of Thor, when Thor's older, he has an eye patch.
Yeah, yeah.
Boom. So they are doing another.
Oh, dude, this is like the coolest version of Thor.
I mean, that looks
Old
like what
Thor.
Odin looked like. This is like Odin. That's like the picture of Odin. So this is Thor becoming
super Nordic.
You know, the future Thor.
Oh
so
my gosh.
One other thing you notice that hasn't happened yet, Dan?
The arm.
The arm.
Yeah.
The arm is a cybernetic arm, very similar to Cable. You know, so it's like maybe at some point in the future he doesn't have an arm.
Now,
here he has a hammer.
This looks much more like what he was wearing on in this movie. The vest. Like this vest specifically looks like what he was wearing in this movie.
I don't think he had a cape though, right? No cape.
He didn't have a cape in this one. But that is such a fucking cool image. Holy shit. Look at that. That is like some super metal like Viking stuff.
Yeah, this is something you see
Thor
on,
I
like,
love.
that's a metal
this is
cover.
Like, yeah, this is like when I was reading Thor, I was just like, oh man, this is what I like. I'll be interesting to see if he got a sword, if he gets a staff, whatever he does.
So we're
a new
imagining
hammer.
that he's gonna just suddenly show up in the movie. He's gonna have no eye and no hammer.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get something though. I think it's
He'll have something.
pretty obvious that he needs it. I'm excited to see him fighting as Lightning Thor, but I think that it detracts from his character a lot because he's a very physical character, and he needs to like pummel people. He needs to beat people up. He's kind of a tanky, rush like berserker,
But the thing is, it's like the hammer is what made him special because we have a lot of those heroes in the universe already who are just strong and can beat
like
ass.
magic and shit.
Yeah, but he had like the hammer. He throws. He flies with it.
Yeah, that's how
calls
he flies.
for it.
Now he can do some weird thing where he like travels in the lightning, and he did like this like Street Fighter like spin move with it.
Yeah,
it
he
was
did like
so cool.
He did like the M Bison
Yeah, it's the M.
fucking
Bison.
cyclone driver.
Yeah,
at him.
he was just like it was like so weird. It was just very strange to see Thor doing some of the things he did in this movie because he's much more magical in his powers than physical.
Yeah.
Which is cool. He's growing up.
But you
he's
can
getting more
tell
powerful.
they have to hold back on a lot of these characters. I mean, even Hela is supposed to be like a great cosmic being who could probably just go, "You're dead," but they have to nerf down these characters quite a bit.
And that's okay. I'm just interested to see where they go with him and what he's gonna take on in the next movies. Because it's so interesting to have these standalone movies where these characters grow so much and change so much, and they have to be thrown back in to these ensemble casts where they can't stand out that much, and they have to kind of like be reserved, even more nerfed, and like just be a part of the puzzle. And it'll be interesting to see if they change anything about the future because of how successful this movie is. You know how much money this movie made this weekend? Hold on, I have the number right here, just so I don't get it exactly wrong.
A load.
Try
I'm
to
sure.
guess. Try to guess.
I don't know, dude. It's like 200-300 million.
That is a large guess. That would be astronomical.
Okay, I don't know.
123 million opening
Okay.
weekend. Pretty fucking good.
Wow.
Like that is a great start to this franchise. The next step in it, because frankly, the second one, I didn't even see. I don't think you saw. Everybody who did see it said it was totally forgettable, and I think that's because they stepped away from being there was a lot of drama with the director in that one and the writer and Natalie Portman, who is no longer a part of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, she was killed off right in that movie
because they had disagreements about characters and stuff like that. It actually had nothing to do with how they wanted the movie to go. And they had a funny joke about that in this movie.
Oh yeah,
where he's like, sorry she broke up with you, and he's like, she didn't break up with me. I broke up with her. We broke up with each other.
Oh, that's
mutually.
right.
Yeah. So that second movie, I feel like tried to be. So the first one was very much its own thing. It was a superhero movie, but it was quirky. It was different. Again, very big fish out of water. Very big. The lug and the maiden.
But they did a great
thing.
job. They appeased so many people. They made these
Was the third one
superheroes
you're
more
talking about?
human. Oh, I jumped ahead to the third one.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
the
gonna
difference.
say- yeah, the second one is then I think a kind of shitty superhero movie. It's a shitty superhero movie, and the third one again, it takes its own life, and it, like you said,
It
humanizes
pisses different
everybody.
people. People would say that maybe even about the first X-Men movie. It was
Did
a
it
lot
what?
of background building, a lot of darkness. They went through the whole beginning with like Auschwitz and showing, Magneto's kind of build up a bit. They had to kind of inject a lot of that early comic, authenticity to it, if you will, to kind of build up story where you didn't get to see a lot of the funness to it until later in the X-Men series. But they really got to explore that all here with Ragnarok.
So I'm going through and reading some of the criticism of this movie, and the Nerdiverse, on Reddit, their biggest complaint is basically that actually they do not like the direction this movie went, that they feel like Marvel has gone too silly, that they've jumped the shark, in fact, with this movie, and that it's no longer the Marvel they love. What do you have to say to that?
I mean, it's definitely something different. And I think I said it before. I could see how at times it felt like it may have been almost too funny, too giggly, and too distracting for maybe how serious the matter is supposed to be, or just how they're supposed to be these characters of a higher anarchy, and they're just being so fumbly and silly, almost
But
like it doesn't feel like they're as powerful as they're supposed to be.
I guess here's what
Like
I
it's-
think. I think that those guys, those fans that are like, this isn't the Marvel that I like, and these aren't my superheroes. And basically the argument is, I'm an adult, and these are serious characters, and they need to be taken seriously, and it has to be serious. So I feel like the things I like are like okay for adults to like. I think that is the most insecure, shitty, childish, dumbass argument you can make. And every person who complains about something that is too kiddie or too mainstream or not serious enough is a fucking idiot. If you look at the DC universe and what they've done, they basically try to appease those fans, and they make these movies that for the most part suck because they are too serious. They are not something you'd want to see as a kid. They are.
I'd be curious to see the Justice League movie and see how that would be.
I think the Justice League movie is saying, guys, we've been fucking up. We have to have fun with these.
Oh, you think they're gonna have a lot of fun with the Justice League movie?
I think they're gonna have more fun with it because if you just look at what they've done, and I don't think those. First off, I fucking like Batman vs Superman, which a lot of people hate. I like those movies, but I think that they are bad because what they do is they try to fan service the hardcore audience, and they're giving them the grown-up Superman they want, and it's like, you know what? Just because like this hardcore niche group wants it does not mean that's what's best for the movie franchise or for the movie experience for everybody. And I think Marvel embraced that. DC did not. The fans of Marvel comics that do not like this movie are those hardcore fans that like the DC movies. But you know what? Those DC movies are losing money, hemorrhaging money, and you're not going to see that many more of them. While the Marvel universe is expanding and growing, becoming new and amazing. In fact, before we go into the movie I was talking about, all I want is a Marvel movie or superhero movie, whatever, it doesn't have to be anything, that's about kids, like young superheroes as they're figuring out their powers, and very much so they are not, the stakes are really low. It's not about saving the world, but it's about figuring themselves out or kind of like solving some kind of normal problem. It's very human. And then we saw a trailer. And Eric, I'm sorry, we didn't include this in the document. I'm gonna have you look up the trailer. It's the trailer for the New Mutants. So we saw this going in.
And this movie looks like a horror film.
It's a horror movie.
Now, this is where, like, they're taking the Marvel Universe and going all over the movie spectrum here. We've seen action, and now they're like, let's just flat out make a comedy. Now let's just go to the other side. Let's make a flat out thriller. Like, this is a movie like I think people might not see just because it looks scary.
It's scary, dude. It's a superhero in every genre. And I'm so excited that Marvel have done what they've done and are able to do this, because DC, if they tried to, this would be a shit show. And Marvel is able to because they've been pushing the boundaries of what their movies and what their universe is. Guardian of the Galaxy helped them do that. The Thor movie helped them do that. Deadpool, changed the
yeah,
game.
Deadpool 2.
R-rated comedy.
Yeah.
And that I think Deadpool was more a comedy than Thor, by the way.
It's true. Yeah,
Deadpool was way
I always
more
forget
of a
about
comedy.
Deadpool when you think about it. But this is just, it's... With Deadpool, you need to expect that from the character, though, too.
Because that's
just
his
who
whole
he is.
thing.
That's his thing.
Yes.
And Ryan Reynolds did a fantastic job, and you're not expecting that from Thor. You're not
No,
expecting that from
no.
the Grandmaster, and you're not expecting that. So that is where the difference is.
That's why it's special. You're right.
Yeah.
100%. You say you had it, Eric?
All right, well, let's
Okay,
check
cool.
out this new to-come Marvel movie. What was it called again?
The New Mutants.
The New Mutants.
That
check
fun-
out
that
check out the
word,
tone
mutants.
of this movie. This is not your save the planet kind of a movie.
I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. I want you to respond truthfully. Have you ever hurt someone?
Yes.
Have you ever experienced anything you'd consider abnormal?
Yes.
Last question. Do you know what mutants are? Did you know baby rattlesnakes are more dangerous than adult ones? They haven't learned how to control how much venom they secrete. All of you are dangerous. That's why you're here.
What is this place?
This isn't a hospital. It's an haunted house.
You've been through a lot. Get some rest.
Where do they save the planet?
Dude.
Where do I get to see them discover their cool powers and
They're going to have powers. It's going to be power light, though. I think she suppresses their powers and shit.
yeah. Hey guys, reminder that Disney is at top of this whole thing. So what's great to see about something like this is that, Disney's not going to step in and just be like, hey guys, can you not, we're going to keep everything PG-13 and
Yeah.
below now. They have obviously said, your studios can still do what you want. We're just going to be on top of everything.
And
So
this is a confusing movie from the back end. You know more about the distribution and how they deal with it, but this is actually a Fox movie. This is not a
really?
Marvel cinematic
okay.
universe. The key indicator that you can see that it's a Marvel movie but not an MCU movie. It's a Fox Marvel movie. Is they use the word mutants. Number one, that's huge. Okay.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Fox right there.
Right?
Oh,
20th Century
okay,
Fox
okay.
and Marvel, not
Okay.
Marvel Cinematic. These are different things. So the Marvel Cinematic Unit, so some of the characters, the X-Men characters and the mutants are sold to Fox a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Marvel Cinematic Universe is bought by Disney, and they get a whole bunch of characters, but there's terms and characters that are split up between the studios.
Which is just so
It's so
awful.
messy.
It's it sucks so bad. This could be like a whole other topic discussion for a podcast itself,
Yeah.
but it's really unfortunate because you're stuck in this terrible situation where all the comic fans, all the Marvel fans, they want to see all their characters together and they want to see the whole Marvel universe play out in film and entertainment. But even Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, a game I love to death,
Yeah.
I can't even have X-Men characters in it that have been in all of those games that I love. They're just, sorry, we can't. Now, talks have been happening, and talks are not happening, and they are happening. I get it's a huge business and a shit ton of money to throw around. We hope that in the near future that maybe we'll see these companies back together. It's kind of scary to think that it's just Disney above all of it.
Everything. Disney owns all.
We're about to be in a life of Google, Disney, Amazon, McDonald's,
Apple.
and that's it.
It's
But
crazy. I'm really excited though for the cast is like all star too. You have the one of the guys from Stranger Things. You have the girl, I can't remember any of the names, so I'm sorry. The girl from Game of Thrones, and then that blonde in there is from Splice. If you saw that movie, M. Night Shyamalan movie last year,
Okay.
Unbelievable movie. She did great in that. I'm so excited to see her in this because she is killer. And I'm excited for this movie. But let's get back to Thor.
They're going all over the place.
I just wanted to introduce this because it was a trailer we saw when we went to the movie, which we had a fun
Which
little
is
movie
different than everything else because you'd see right after this trailer, maybe right before, Black Panther be played.
Yes.
Which is more of what we've been seeing from everything else, which is supposed to be another super hype movie.
It's supposed to be super hype, although it seems to be following the traditional formula.
We'll see.
Of a movie. We'll
that
see
movie,
what
though,
happens.
it's so different.
Yes.
You know? So we're probably going to cover that one in the future, and we'll get to
Yeah.
kind of compare it with all this other things. Let's go into a small section. I know I've been already doing quite a bit of this through the podcast, but I want to give some other direct shout-outs in this movie to the comic references that they were able to make. As we all know,
right. The hardcore nerd stuff.
The hardcore nerd stuff. We know that this movie did not follow the book to the T. There's lots of crazy things that happen. For example, on Sakaar, and the whole reason why Hulk is even there in the first place is very different than stuff that we may have read in the far past. I mean, in this universe, Hulk takes it upon himself to leave Earth, to leave Black Widow, and to go on his own. He's obviously, Earth is scared of him. He causes a lot of destruction, and he doesn't want to cause destruction to the people he loves or to the place he loves. So he takes it upon himself to leave. That's what we see in the movies. In the comics, he's just such a huge threat to Earth and everything that we see Mr. Fantastic, we see Iron Man, and that crew send Hulk away. They put him in a rocket and send him away.
Get the fuck
and
out of
their
here.
plan is to send him off to this particular place where he can just kind of do as he wants and live a happy life or whatever. But somewhere along the way, he got sucked into some sort of void or black hole and then dropped in Sakaar. That's the comic one. In this one, he took off and he showed up in Sakaar. And we see Thor arrive in Sakaar and find out that he's there. Now they're in Sakaar, they're battling it out. In the movie, they reunite, they leave Sakaar.
Mm-hmm.
In the comic, I don't think Thor shows up really at all. Hulk's there. He is beaten at first into this position that he's in where he has to battle as a gladiator and win. He ends up becoming very popular, too popular for the local king or leader he doesn't like that. Kind of like Julius Caesar. Like,
Not the Grandmaster? It's somebody else?
I don't think it was the Grandmaster. The Grandmaster does host the what is it called? The Tournament of Champions, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But I don't think that on Sakaar that's called the Tournament of Champions. That's just like Hulk in a gladiator battle. So in the comics, Hulk battling it out on Sakaar. He's winning a lot of popularity and he's building a team. And Krone's on that team still that we see in the movie. Like he builds that team and they end up overthrowing. Hulk meets a girl who was originally an enemy. They end up hooking up. They have a great life together on Sakaar, and then Sakaar blows up, Dan. And Hulk is pissed. And he's actually pissed at Mr. Fantastic and Iron Man and everyone who put him through all that. That's the comics.
Well, he's also, Hulk loves Sakaar, right?
It ends up becoming that's like the whole Planet Hulk,
it's Planet Hulk
saga. Like that's becomes his new life.
He is like a legend and a god on that planet. In this movie, they do a great job of just like, they have a parade for him when he goes missing.
People
and
holding up like Hulk heads.
There's literally a skyscraper with his head on the top of it. He's not having a bad time there.
No, he's doing
He
great.
gets to be himself and be Hulk and be loved and embraced. Where on Earth, they hate him.
Eric, if you can find that statue he's talking about, when they look at the tower and there's all those heads, I think it's like it shows all the people who had won the Tournament of Champions and they're at the top of this tower in the movie. I wish I could be more specific, but if he's able to find it, there's a couple other fun nods and faces on there that are from like past comics or other stories too. That's really cool. So anyways, until that is able to come up, if he's able to find it, that is just one little thing. The whole Planet Hulk thing is just kind of, they get to go to Sakaar, but it doesn't pan out in that kind of same way.
How much do you feel like it matters that people actually follow the comics versus making their own kind of stories? Because here's my thing. All these people that complain, who are comic readers, that complain about the variations from the comic universe, yet the comic universes are built on constantly reinventing and changing themselves.
It's not the best quality, but that is exactly what I'm talking about here. This is supposed to be like the Mount Rushmore dedicated to the people who had won the Tournament of Champions.
But don't you think it's bullshit? Like, when we read comics, it's constantly, you're most excited when they're like, we're switching up the story, we're changing the characters, whether it's the New 50 or the 2099 series,
which they do,
or the Earth 2, whatever. It's constantly changing and constantly flipping everything on its head. But for some reason, when the movies try to like make it their own thing, there's such a revolt. Is it not hypocritical for people to love and embrace and be excited about all the changes to their characters in the comics, but when the movies do it, it's suddenly like blasphemy?
That's a good point, and it does happen. I mean, comic people can't deny that. We've seen new editions of comics where they'll just take it upon themselves to change the story a bit. I think one example that comes to my mind is pretty much the story of Magneto. We know in the comics of Magneto, like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are supposed to be his kids. Now, they don't acknowledge it in the movie because of the whole Fox thing.
Yeah.
But it's led to be his kids, but then you learn later in some new 2000-plus comic that, they weren't his kids the whole time, and they just set a new story arc. So it feels like at times there are no rules.
Yeah, because and like here's the thing about the comics is everything that happens is true, but it also never happened and it's not true. You know, it's all there. So they are both his daughter and son, and they are also not his daughter and son. And those two things, like the multiverse that exists within comics, is like proof of quantum theory, in my opinion. You know, it's like it's crazy. Yeah. But I don't know, man.
You can't, and people are, just because you're going to have people of all over the spectrum about it and how their feelings are about these movies. But yeah, you can't go in there and honestly expect these writers and directors to be able to follow these books to the T and still make it ingestible for the audience, for maybe people who didn't follow comics to the T, but they still want to kind of learn a bit about these heroes and where they came from, where they're going, the adventures they've been on. And then it's on them like, that Sakaar thing was awesome. And then you go, hey, what if I told you that you can read all this stuff and learn even more about Sakaar and even more about Planet Hulk? Like, they give them those kind of opportunities. So you really cannot take that to heart. Like, I think it's great that they got to see a bit of Planet Hulk. You get to see stuff like this now. It's really hard to see, but we don't get Beta Ray Bill in this, and he is a prominent figure in the Thor universe.
He's like a horse Thor.
He's like a crazy alien cyber Thor. We don't get him in the movie, but we do get an homage to him here in the statue. And I remember reading something about how they were hoping to get him in the movie, but they didn't make him enough of a prominent figure that would have satisfied Beta Ray Bill's fans.
I think it would have been weird.
But people were still upset that he wasn't in it at all, so you really can't win there, I guess.
Yeah, I think it would have been weird.
But it's fun. I'm glad that they at least were able to kind of do the little bit. They had Sakaar and stuff, and yeah, they may have not followed it to a T, but as I'll move forward here, you'll see they do give a lot of nods to the comics and what they did. You talked about the Thor Loki snake thing, but they also mentioned something about Loki turning Thor into a frog. He may have not turned Thor into a frog in the comics, but there was a comic about Thor being a frog.
Really?
Or not Thor being a frog, but there was a frog Thor, or a frog that he found that had powers and became a frog.
Thor?
Yeah, there's a frog Thor, you know.
Oh, God.
Scourge the Executioner, who, if you want to go back to that picture of Hela and Scourge, and I said we were going to get back to that, Scourge the Executioner was pretty much in the movie. You're like, and you don't know who he is. You're like, who the fuck is this guy? He just shows up. He's an Asgardian who just
was he in the second one?
I don't think so.
I have no idea.
I think he just popped up in this one, and that's what he was. But he's just an Asgardian there. Hela says, "I'm gonna make you my executioner." He just goes along with the ride, and then not until near the end of the movie he has this final stand, and then dies, and it's over. You don't get to learn much about the character, but he's not developed at all really in the movie, but he's just more of like a nice homage to the character in the comics, who is Scourge the Executioner. So they give him the name Executioner in the movie by making him the Executioner for Hela. And he has these guns.
The guns. Dez and Troy, right?
Which has got to be the weirdest thing, because everyone's watching this movie and they don't know who he is. He's like, what? He's an Asgardian. You have people throwing around lightning and thunder and destroying worlds, and this dude wants to carry rifles and he's fighting superheroes. Like, how can that be good? And it's like, well, in the comics,
well, it's kind of funny. I didn't realize it was a real thing in the comics. Like you told me, I just thought it was a funny joke that like he's got all this stuff he collects. He's like, look at my stuff, and it's like a bunch of weapons and random shit from all over the universe. And then he's got his two favorite things are machine guns. But you told me it's not just a funny joke; it actually has significance.
If you Google Scourge the Executioner guns, I imagine that one of the Google images will be boom, the comic panel.
Yeah.
The famous comic panel of him holding the bridge, sacrificing his own life for the Asgardians to be able to make it away. So
So
it's
it
great
wasn't
that they're
just a
able to
clever joke. It was so funny because when I'm watching the movie, I'm thinking, wow, that is a liberty they must have taken in this movie because it's so ridiculous. But actually, it's real. This is one of the things that is ridiculous because it's from the comic, which is why comics are fucking awesome.
Fun nod as well about that scene where he shows the guns and all of his fun collectibles. At one point, he shows a shake weight. He's like shaking around. Apparently, that shake weight was from the Green Lantern set.
Really?
Yeah. They show that same shake weight in Green Lantern, and
that's a fun little peep there.
It's a fun little peeper.
Yeah.
We saw the Thor helmet, which we already mentioned about, and the Thor missing an eye. Contest of Champions is, of course, a real event that did occur in the comic series. It was more of a thing that was thrown on by the what's his name? Jeff Goldblum's character, the Grand Master, and it was just kind of like all these Avengers and all these superhero characters had to come together, not just the event that we saw transpire in the movie. Let's talk about some random but awesome stuff in the movie.
What else? How much you got here?
Random
Holy
but
cow.
awesome. There's a couple here. I already mentioned the shake weight, but what about a certain cameo?
Oh, you didn't even know.
I didn't even know.
You are such an idiot.
I was so taken back by just how funny the whole scene was.
That scene was amazing.
That
Break down the scene for them. They're
reenacting the moment from the first movie, right? Or is it the second movie?
It's from the second movie.
Where, Loki...
Or is it from Avengers? I don't even remember.
From the first movie. Or second movie. I don't know. They're reenacting one of the scenes from the previous movies. And, of course, it's Loki there watching himself being portrayed. But they have Matt Damon portraying Loki in their fun little skit.
And Sam Neill is playing Odin, and Luke Hemsworth, Chris Hemsworth's brother, is playing Thor in a theater production for the gods in Asgard, and they're recreating the whole thing. It's very campy, over the top, and hilarious. And Matt Damon is Loki. How did you not notice that was Matt Damon?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I didn't look hard enough, I guess. I saw the hair and the wig and the face and everything in my mind, but I didn't put two and two together that Matt Damon's
literally
a thing.
go in a super tight
So
close-up
cool.
on him, and he's just like, I'm Matt Damon.
You know what this means, though? Matt Damon's an Asgardian.
Matt Damon is an Asgardian, and he's in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, he could come back.
He could come back. The actor playing an actor in Asgard, who knows? He's on that ship. He's leaving there. He's in space right now, and... That's okay. That is a bad Photoshop. That is not what he looks like in the movie.
That's not what he looks like in the movie, but it's pretty much Matt Damon with a black wig,
close.
though.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Random but awesome Willy Wonka tribute randomly in the
I
movie.
didn't catch it. I didn't
Wait,
catch it.
What? How did you not catch it? It's the moment when Thor gets to meet the Grand Master. He's like put into that chair and then flies down.
Okay,
and it's
so
all
that-
the colors.
yeah, I didn't
and
think
it's that
that-
whole moment again. And
Yeah.
they're playing the music and everything.
It's not the same song.
It's the same song.
It's the same song?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay, first off, huge Willy Wonka fan. I feel disgusted with myself that I didn't pick up on it.
Well, I didn't find Matt Damon. You didn't see that. So
I mean,
fair.
I love that scene, though. I love that because it's very jarring. And, the tunnel and, the flashing lights.
And
And
even
all
when
the
they
stuff.
suddenly show up, and when he shows up, he's like, ah! And you're like, whoa, bro. It's so good.
Yeah.
So random too. Like not anything to do with I get all the comic nods and the nods to the fans.
Nice
but
little homage.
just a little homage randomly to.
I mean,
to
directors
Willy
sometimes
Wonka.
like that, where they have an idea in their head and they have this scene that they've always wanted to do, and you get access to the kind of budget you get with Marvel, and you can kind of make it happen. You can do what you want. So Mr. New Zealander must have really felt like this is something I want to do. I want to take this scene. I bet he had the vision from the beginning. When he read the script, he just was like, this is what I want to do with this.
And do you think right away he was like, I want to be Korg?
I don't know. Yeah. So
So if
he
you guys
plays-
didn't know,
yeah.
Korg, who we saw almost more of a prominent figure than the Executioner.
Hilarious character.
He is the Cronin, who is there with Thor as I'm a hero. I'm one of the undercards.
In the gladiator fights.
In the Gladiator Fates, I'm one of the undercards. He's
Yeah.
the rock dude. That is the director.
Yeah, he's a director. He's hilarious. Throughout the entire movie, he's got tons of funny lines.
He's wearing the motion capture thing, by the way, the whole time. Even when he has to direct in all those scenes,
Really?
he's there wearing the motion capture shit,
saw
having to
some
direct,
behind-the-scenes
wearing
stuff?
it, doing
That's
it. Yeah,
hilarious.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, he's really good. And he's got it. Really, it's funny to have a character that, in a normal Marvel movie, would be the comedic relief, and in a comedy movie, he is the double comedic relief in the comedy movie because all he does is say funny shit. He has no real lines except for just jokes.
Everything he says is
he did a great performance. I thought he was that other guy, the Brit guy.
Yeah, me too.
From Flight of the Conchords, which I'm surprised the rest of those guys didn't have a. So that's him in this movie.
Yeah, so that, by the way, again, just casually, the director of Ragnarok also stepping in to be a prominent figure. I mean, Stan Lee, he has that cameo every movie, so we get to see. But here, he's going to take it to a whole new level.
He's an actor. He's been in other stuff.
Yeah.
He's an actor.
Great.
He's pretty talented
so
guy.
So funny.
Unbelievable.
Great character, and again, itself an homage. You know, Korg was part of Hulk's war bond on Planet Hulk and everything, and I love that they found that character to be able to bring back, and they made him a bigger character than some of the more prominent roles in the movie. You know, it's just so funny. Good stuff.
Holy cow! Yeah, it was a great movie. I don't know where are you at on
where we go. I mean, we've gone through it all. We actually had already touched on where the movie ends, and we see those snippets at the end. So where we're left to assume is they're traveling with all of. They just said Asgard is not a place; it's the people. So Asgard is now in this ship, and they're trying to fly towards Earth. In the comics, there is a point where Asgard does locate to Earth for a period of time. I guess during one of the Ragnarok cycles, maybe, but they go to Oklahoma. I don't know if they're going to go to Oklahoma in the movie or not.
I think they're
going
to go to Norway. I think they're going to go to Norway.
They might not even make it, Dan, because along the way they run into what is supposed to be a highly prominent Sentinel warship.
That's Thanos' ship.
And it's supposed to, everyone's assuming it's Thanos' ship they run into. Thanos could just destroy the ship for all we know in the movie, so it's crazy to say. Which, by the way, I love Thanos. Magneto is always my favorite villain, but I've quickly been really growing on.
That's
Thanos
like an MVC thing.
though.
It's like I feel like you got into Thanos.
But then, when I looked it up, and you could tell from this, Thanos' story gets told later. You know, not from 1950s, 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It's not till later that they get to really dive into the story of Thanos and who he was growing up and how he is more of kind of a human figure, and then later becomes more diabolical and gets to this state that we see here where he has this serious lust for death and will do anything. At one point, and I hope at the end of Infinity War, he gets all the gems, puts it in his gauntlet, snaps his fingers, and half the universe dies.
Very famous line from the comic. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Holy shit, excuse me.
Because he's just so powerful, man.
There's a young Thanos movie coming out, isn't there? Is that what I heard? There's young Thanos.
Really?
They're doing like a Thanos origin where he's like a kid and shit.
All right.
I imagine that.
I mean, they could. He has
thought I heard
quite the crazy life himself.
So I guess I had like the one last thing that I forgot to talk about earlier that I was going to talk about. You reminded me because of Norway.
You had to sneeze again?
I don't know if I had to sneeze again or not. I'm sorry. I'm like if you're just listening to the podcast, my eyes are like fluttering. And I'm like,
he's freaking
I'm
out
about
right
to
now.
sneeze. So we talked about the bad CG, and there was one scene in particular where we were like, this looks fucked up. And I remember being totally taken aback in the theater when Loki and Thor go visit Odin in Norway on the mountainside.
Yeah.
And then eventually they meet, Odin dies, and their sister, Hela, comes, and they have a confrontation. That entire sequence was originally shot to be in New York City.
Oh.
And if you look at the original trailer, they have that scene playing out in New York City. So when you watch the scene in the movie, it looks terrible, and that's because they reshot all the backgrounds and had to re-put all these guys in to a new environment. So it's crazy that they even were able to accomplish it, but it's also crazy that the director would want that so much. He basically said he felt like this is the wrong place. They needed to be isolated and doing their own thing and just focusing on these characters, and the city was distracting. So he just took them out. And that's how crazy post-production is on movies of this scale, that you can have a scene that's entirely shot, entirely finished, put in the trailer. I don't like it. I don't like it anymore. I want to take it out. I want to change it completely. We're going to put them in Norway. So you got to fucking go in, and you got all these guys in After Effects and Nuke rotoscoping every little fucking pixel and taking them out and playing them on. And no matter how much work they do, you can still see that it doesn't look quite right. And so if you see that scene, no, that was not the original scene. And I don't want to pull up the trailer really because it's probably too hard to find it. But that was just an interesting thing I thought of. And Peter McCormick as well pointed out, because he was the one.
You guys have an eye for that kind of stuff.
He was the one who said he saw the trailer and the trailer was different, and he looked at it and was like, oh yeah, they redid that scene. We're like, of course that's the scene, because it looked like such shit in the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like we're about ready to wrap up.
We are about ready to wrap up. We're getting closer to the 2-hour mark, and I think that's a pretty justified, fair time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Doctor
Strange cameo.
Yeah, there was that. It's good because we got to see Doctor Strange before that, and we knew that with the end credit scene from Doctor Strange that him and Thor do meet up, and they went right into that right at the beginning of the movie.
Very funny. Great chemistry between the two.
Very funny.
It felt like it was something you want to see more of. Because it's very brief. They really get in there and get out, which I like.
We will be seeing more of. I mean, that man currently holds the time stone.
Yeah.
And if Thanos has anything to say about it, he'll be paying him a visit, I'm sure. So we were likely to see that chemistry hopefully unfold more in the next Avengers
movie. You see how powerful he is. He's like toying with Loki and Thor. Like, it's ridiculous. And there's also that hilarious scene where Thor calls his hammer, which is turned into an umbrella or whatever, for being on Earth.
Oh, that was also a comic nod I didn't mention.
Really?
But
nice.
There's like in the old 50s Thor comics, when he was the human, he'd have to change by slapping his cane down on the ground, and the cane would turn to the hammer, and he would turn to Thor. So that was an awesome moment when he did do the change to just a nice homage to the 50s Thor.
Yeah, and it's like breaking all of Doctor Strange's shit. It was really funny. There's a lot of great cameos in this movie and little performances, and that's what's great when you have a universe this big and strong. You can get these big actors and you can get this cross stuff going on. It makes it more exciting to watch the next movies.
There should be no reason anyone out there has listened to the podcast up to this point and has not yet seen the movie. But for whatever reason, if you have not seen the movie yet,
sorry,
go see it, man. Yeah, sorry for spoiling everything, but still go see it. Some of these funny moments, even after we spoiled them, it's
Here's
so
the thing.
Funny.
The story is very light in this movie. It's very story light. The movie's very short.
The trailer pretty much gives away the trailer really gives away everything that happens in the movie.
If you watch the trailer, that's the whole movie.
But what the trailer doesn't show is all those fun moments in between, so you get to still enjoy those.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's story light, plot light. It's really about the big major theme is the rebirth of Thor and the rebirth of Asgard and kind of like this new step in the universe. And what's really funny is what I didn't mention. It's not actually funny. It's actually kind of horrific. But as part of this rebirth, they kill all his friends in like 10 seconds. His crew, who's like in the first and second Thor movie, who he rolls around with doing everything, Hela kills him like ding, 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 dead. Now, I don't know if they'll be reborn when Asgard's reborn or whatever, but...
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like some people are also saying because Surtur was able to fulfill the prophecy, like in this universe, maybe Ragnarok will not have its rebirth. Normally, his rebirth happens without
at the same
Surtur
time
doing it. Yeah, there's some discrepancies there, and I'm sure I'm gonna get tweeted at with what the actual things are. But I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna continue my research. I'm gonna continue to learn everything I can about Marvel. I've had these cards. I really want to know. There's still so many characters in this book. I just don't know where they come from. And I feel bad.
Sable. I want to know more about Silver Sable.
Deathlock. I don't know much about. I'd love to learn more about him. They show all these fun teams and fights and matchups, and they reference the comics. And I'm just always curious if we're going to be able to see
I
these
wish you guys could
moments,
see all these. Maybe we'll put an imager gallery together or something.
That'd be
cool.
fun. Yeah,
it's so cool.
But
all right. So final thoughts on Thor.
Final thoughts. Best Thor movie, I'd say, of the series.
Absolutely.
Best Thor movie of the series. Lots of fun actors. Lots of strong performances from Chris himself. From a lot of the leads,
Kate Blanchett.
You know, maybe I'd say director Taika was my MVP.
Dude,
he was fantastic on the
what
movie.
Is he gonna get
and
next?
Fantastic as a director, and I will be happy to see whatever movie he's able to be pulling out next.
You know, they talk about Blank Check, and if you want another movie podcast, listen to the Blank Check movie podcast. It's amazing. But they talk about this when a director does something like this, where they do a big studio movie, and it's a killer. They basically get this blank check to make whatever movie they want. And sometimes it's a series of movies, or sometimes it's just one-off. He's going to get a blank check. He's going to be able to make whatever movie he wants next. So what that is, I don't know, but you got a guy going from the super indie New Zealand film scene, you know, gets an Academy Award nomination for a short, has a super successful television show that's very much so out of the box and different than anything else on TV, and then he does this? What is next? Who the fuck knows?
He's a freak. He's funny. I recommend going to check out all of his like interviews about the movie when he talks about it, when he breaks. There's awesome footage out there of him breaking down some of the fights. some of the
He
scenes.
really went
and
into
he has
it.
a lot of fun with it too. So
Yeah. My final kind of thoughts on this movie are: I love the movie. I totally recommend it. I'm not gonna say gorgeous. It's not the most beautiful movie I've seen, but it's awesome and kick-ass. The planet is one of the most beautiful planets I've seen. The skyline is amazing.
the music, we didn't mention the music.
Is so sick,
The
dude.
music's sick.
There's some stuff. We're big synth fans. We're like huge 80s fucking like that's what we listen to when we're playing games. So this whole movie,
So
I'm
you
fucking
get
going
that,
like this.
and then on the one of the final bridge fight scenes, we get the famous song. What is it? Led Zeppelin.
The Led Zeppelin
yeah,
song.
I hear the song in my head, but I don't want to sing it and murder everybody
Don't
who's
do it.
listening right now.
No.
But they blast like some good old Led
Awesome
Zeppelin for the fight,
music.
and I love that.
Awesome music. For me, the action scenes are boring. I'm over it. I'm also over the giant stakes. At least, I mean, the stakes for this were Asgard, which are relatively giant, but not as big as like the universe is collapsing or some shit. So I was happier with that. But the less action in these movies, for me, the better. I think you need one big scene and that's it, and a couple little ones. But I just don't. I'm not kidding. I was like falling asleep.
Yeah, I'm
but I still
worried
love the
then.
movie. You should see it.
Hopefully, you won't be let down too much then for the next one, because I can't imagine the Infinity War, the next Avengers movie, having not a lot of action.
That's going to be literally an hour and a half long fight scene.
Yeah.
That's going to
Which
be
some people
ridiculous.
love that. Some people want that. I'm curious how it's going to be. And I'm going to have again, a real tough eye on like Thanos, on the evil characters, how sinister they'll be, because these are characters who have unfathomable power. And they're obviously going to have to nerf them down, so I'm curious how they're going to be doing that. I had a lot of fun with Thor Ragnarok. I had a great time. I'm really excited because when you first told me about doing this movie, I was a little hesitant because I hadn't seen a lot of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, you were so nervous.
I hadn't seen Thor 1 or 2. I didn't see Civil War. I didn't see Avengers 2. I really just neglected myself from a lot of the Marvel stuff, and then it wasn't until we started getting into this that I'm like, I think I need to rekindle that flame. I need a reason to be able to learn all this stuff again and get excited, and I did. And now I'm pretty much going to be checking out whatever Marvel
Frankly, if you
movie
haven't
moving
seen any
forward.
of them, it doesn't matter. He's just a nerd who wants to know everything about everything we do. So
Yeah,
he
Blade
just
Runner, whatever,
he likes to
man.
deep dive on it all. But my thing is, if you haven't seen them, who cares? It's funny. It's a great standalone. You don't need explanation of every single thing in there. But if you want it, it's there, and that's fucking cool.
You can bring a non-comic book fan to this movie, like
yeah,
a date.
we were talking about. I was like, yeah, my
You can
girlfriend would like this.
Bring a date to it. You know, bring a guy who doesn't know about comics. Bring a girl who doesn't know comics. It doesn't matter. The chuckles,
They're there.
they're there, and
They're
you're
there.
going to have a fun time. So that was Movie Buff. This week we got to talk about Thor Ragnarok,
Woo!
an absolute blast. Tomorrow, podcast fans, don't go too far. We're going to be right back at you. Myself, Dan, and Ken Chen will be
Ken
back
Chen
in the
is
house.
back.
And we're going to be doing our show priority, where we're going to be talking about the back half of ESL. We're going to talk about Dota Pit, maybe BlizzCon, a little bit of League of Legends Worlds. And then, of course, on the back half of the podcast, Dan and Ken are going to go into a bit deeper realm of Smash Summit, all the content, how it was working with the players, and we're going to have a lot of fun with
It's
that.
a double feature, guys. This is going to be
Yep.
basically 2 episodes back to back.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about everybody else's content, and we're going to break down our own for the first time in a way you really have never seen. And we're it's going to be a pretty much open book on how we go into these events and what we do at the events. So if you're into it all, if you like our skits, come back for show priority. It's going to be amazing. Also, our poster. Again,
Yep.
Thank you so much, Nips, for the art. Eric, we can pull it up one more time. Guys, if you like what we're doing, if you're into the podcast, if you want to keep us doing this, this is a great way of showing that you like the show. Go on our website, designbyhuman.com/Beyond the Summit. You can also check out our Twitter for the link directly there. That's at BTS Pods. Support us. Grab the poster. Grab a shirt. Coming soon. Hot Cock shirt.
Yeah, lots of cool merch is going to be coming out to that store and other ways and options. If you're not a guy who needs an anime poster on their wall, let's say.
Yeah,
we
you don't
have
want to see my face on your wall. I get that.
That's a shame. But, we have lots of cool merch that's going to be coming out. We've already seen the designs for, and they're just kind of going to be making that next step. And then you'll be seeing a lot of awesome new products in the store to be able to support the projects.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that, and thank you so much. What's our next movie going to be?
I think it's Justice League. I think we have to go.
Do you think we should just jump into
superhero
Justice
back to
League?
back? How can we not? It's coming out isn't it coming out next week?
What are you saying there, Eric? Eric's saying Star
That's
Wars.
not until December. That's December 15th.
God,
Eric,
if
that's
we
a
get
bit
to
long
Star
away.
Wars and then I have to learn everything about Star Wars,
We're going
like,
to do a Star Wars episode.
All right. Do you want to be the front runner of that?
I don't know what the release date is. I thought I remember
It's Christmas,
seeing.
right? Yeah, it's like around Christmas, so it's a while. Dota Summit time, so we'll see.
I
We'll
believe-
probably do it. We'll do it like we just did with this, like post-event following.
Yeah,
week,
we're
I
gonna
imagine.
figure it out. We'll let you guys know what we're gonna do next. Maybe we'll have a vote. We never had a vote last time. That was awkward. I actually had a couple people asking me, "Where's the vote? What are you gonna be voting on? What are you doing?" And I was like, we just kind of decided to do Thor. So sorry, guys.
But if you guys have a movie that you're like, we need to see this, we need
Tweet
to
at
review
us.
it. I
That's
don't
the
care if
best
it's
way.
old or new. Like, if there's a following for a certain movie, like, we'll definitely jump into it. No big deal.
You can tweet us directly. What is your Twitter? At Dakota Cox. What is it? At Cow Guy.
Dakota Cox.
At Dakota Cox. I'm at missing_data. So just missing data. Or at BTS Pods. That's our official podcast. And that's probably the best way. Tell us what you want us to do. New movies, old movies. You know, I feel like we love going to the theater and
Documentaries.
see new movies. Yeah, we could do something really off. Oh, shit. Oh, my gosh. Okay. This just came in right now.
Oh, sick.
Tiffany's going to show us. Here we got our first print. Oh,
Yay.
shit. There it is, guys. Want to grab that, Dakota?
Oh, it feels good.
Ooh. It is nice. Look at this, dude. Holy shit. That's dope.
Very nice. All right.
Thanks, Designed by Humans.
Designbyhumans.com/Beyond the Summit.
Thanks
you
on
can
that,
check
so you
out
can guys grab your own.
the movie buff print if you're a person who fancies prints.
It comes in different sizes, so if you don't want one this big, that's great. We got a couple different sizes up on the site that you can grab. Be sure to check it out. I'm Dan Najarian.
And I'm Dakota Cox. We'll see you next time for more Beyond the Summit podcast action. Take care.